this is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
There's a difference between liking a house and actually getting it. Redfin is built to make up that difference and close the gap between finding and owning the home for you. Redfin agents close twice as many deals as other agents. So when you find a home you love, you're not a step behind when it comes to making an offer. That means less watching great homes disappear and more focus on the one you'll call home. Redfin helps turn saved listings into real addresses. Get started at redfin.com. Own the dream.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Hey everybody, Robert Evans here, and I wanted to let you know this is a compilation episode. So every episode of the week that just happened is here in one convenient and with somewhat less ads package for you to listen to in a long stretch if you want. If you've been listening to the episodes every day this week, there's going to be nothing new here for you, but you can make your own decisions. Are we recording?
Yeah.
What? Well, the episode started now. I was going to say something to do with Texas, but to be honest, you know, why do we do this? Why do we let ourselves, you know, get famous for saying a particular bit and then just keep repeating it over and over again? Are we so creatively bankrupt that there's nothing else we can do but repeat our greatest hits in order to recapture some of the excitement that we felt as younger men? Anyway, my co-hosts on this episode are Garrison Davis, James Stout, and Mia Wong. Welcome to It Could Happen Here.
Hi, Robert. I'm glad you're doing so well.
We're all doing great. James, you've just been having a searing emotional experience at the border.
I have, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And everyone else is busy living in the United States, which is its own searing emotional experience. And today we're going to be talking about both the most and least American state, Texas. Huzzah! Who here? Yeah,
lovely place.
Yeah, who here's spent a lot of time in Texas? Garrison, you lived in the Dallas area for a while,
I have.
right?
Mm-hmm. Not a lot, but I've made my visits to Texas over the years. With you, even in the murder house.
You and I have quaffed many a Shiner Bock together, James. Many. Okay, I guess we'll move into the fucking episode. So, there was an email sent out by TexasDemocrats.org recently with the title "Texas Moves from Solid Red to Battleground."
Sure.
And, you know, like clockwork, a lot of Democrats got very excited. And I made a couple of people made posts being like, hey, this is the same thing that happens every single election. They are never right. Texas is never a battleground, and it always costs an insane amount of money. It is a con by DC political consultants to get your money and pump it into something that will fill up their coffers and not achieve anything of value for the state of Texas or for the Democrats nationwide. And this makes people very angry for two reasons. One, they tend to interpret it as saying abandon Texas and the people there, which is not the statement I was making or anyone else was making. And number two, everyone kind of obsessively starts pointing out like, look at how over the last 30 years, you know, the things have narrowed in Texas, and the proportion of like Democratic votes is, you know, raised. This is winnable. We can do it. We're going to talk today about why anyone who talks to you about flipping Texas as a political goal that you should give money to is conning you. And not only conning you, but making it actually more difficult for Democrats to win both in Texas and nationwide. That's the premise of the episode, everybody.
Here's how Bernie can still win, though. At the very end, we will give you an
yeah, we're going to let you know. He's got a shot. Look. If he is capable of putting another 3 rounds of 6.5 into a dinner plate size target at 150 yards. Now, that was anyway. He'd have to shoot a lot of people to make.
He's
going to
deploy Brianna Joy into a.
Do not say that name.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. So I just maxed out the levels of my microphone.
Horrible person. So I want to talk about this because I find it like, I think people tend to interpret this. I've certainly gotten accused of like, oh, you're just kind of being like a nihilist. You're being, you know, just an anti-electoralist. You're not being practical. There was one particular guy who's like a local Democratic candidate who responded 7 times to my tweet, being like, with variation. And his obsession was like, if we win Texas, it's impossible for the GOP to win national elections, which is true. If theoretically the Democrats flipped Texas, the GOP would have no chance at winning a federal election ever again.
Yeah, and like so simultaneous to this, right? If there are more Republicans in California than there are basically any other state in the union, and if the Republicans won California, they would win every election forever.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen. I mean, it's one of those things. I am not saying Texas will never be a blue state. You know, that is something that is possible, even likely, given enough time. What I am saying, the argument that I'm making here, and I'll provide you with evidence, is that number one, focusing on these elections from the top down. And when you're saying we want to flip Texas, that's a top-down approach, right? You are not focusing on, we want to fill up and win a bunch of different local elections. We want to flip, you know, the state houses. We want to flip a bunch of mayoralties and stuff. You are saying what matters is how Texas votes in the national election. And if you were to kind of eke out a bare, like in Georgia, right, where you get a narrow victory in the federal election, that would be great for the Democratic Party. One of my issues with it is that kind of focusing obsessively on flipping Texas isn't focusing on the stuff that actually will help Texans, like Texans currently being targeted by the state government, because flipping the state in a federal election, but not taking the governor's seat, not taking the lieutenant governor's seat, not like actually taking the state house, doesn't improve life for people in Texas. I think the kind of the degree to which the federal government, Biden's administration, has been unable to push back very effectively against kind of a lot of the shit that DeSantis has been doing in Florida. You know, they have started to make some attempts, is evidence of this. And kind of more to the point, even if you don't agree with that, fundamentally, these strategies that the Democratic Party has embraced in Texas do not work. The Texas Democratic Party is incompetent. They are bad at their job. They are worse. People bring up Georgia a lot when I talk about flipping Texas, and folks are like, well, we flipped Georgia. And it's like, yeah, because the state elected officials and candidates in Georgia, number one, the state party did a much better job of kind of harvesting is a weird way to phrase it, but of incubating talent to run for election in a number of local offices than the Texas Democratic Party has ever done. And that was a big part of what allowed them to be competitive and eventually to flip the state. There's a lot of like kind of dollar sign information on how bad the state party in Texas is at this shit. And I guess I should go ahead and provide some of that now. So in the 2022 election, the midterms, famously an unusually good showing for the Democratic Party nationwide for a midterm election. Everywhere but Texas, O'Rourke ran against Greg Abbott. He lost by 11%. This is kind of to contrast the election that got everyone excited when he was running against Cruz. I think they were like 3% apart. And again, the only reason there was this kind of mistaken belief and excitement among Dems that O'Rourke, because he was so close to Cruz, had a real shot of winning Texas. No, he got kind of close to beating Cruz because even Republicans hate Ted Cruz. No one has ever liked that man. His own wife can barely stand to be in a room with him. His political allies would turn the other cheek if fucking somebody. Yeah, anyway, we shouldn't talk about political assassinations on this podcast. It wouldn't anger anybody though, right? Lindsey Graham has said that. Like Lindsey Graham's what maybe the only good joke a Republican elected official's ever told is that if you were to shoot Ted Cruz on the floor of Congress, and the trial was held in Congress, like nobody would vote to convict the murderer. Anyway, so Beto lost quite badly to Greg Abbott, and beyond that, basically every statewide candidate that the Democrats ran lost in that election. It was a bad election for the Democratic Party. And people who pay attention to Texas politics and actually aren't just trying to grift your donation money know this. Joel Montfort, a Democratic consultant in North Texas, said, quote, "It's been one election after another where we ramp everybody up and set these expectations that we're going to finish in first, and then we finish in second. I don't see any indication that we can win at statewide levels or won't continue to bleed House seats to the other party."
I love the use of finish in second there, as if there's a podium on elections.
Well, they can listen to libertarians. That's not out of the range of the Texas Democratic Party.
To take the L to Jill Stein.
Yeah, there were some some wins by Democrats in Texas. They managed to hold on to 2 out of 3 seats, congressional seats in battleground regions in South Texas.
Yeah, but they still lost one.
Yeah, they did still lose one.
Insane.
And the GOP had to spend a lot of money to do that. But one of the points is that so they held on to 2 of those seats and they won a contested seat in the suburbs of Dallas. And but basically in all of these areas, these were super narrow wins, the big successes, and they were narrow wins in areas that Joe Biden had carried by double digits 2 years ago. And Joe Biden is a historically that is some of what will show you how bad the Texas Democratic Party is. Joe Biden is not a popular president, and the fact that he carried a lot of these areas by more than the candidates who narrowly won in 2022 could is not a great sign for the way things are trending.
Yeah, it's probably also worth pointing out that those southern Texas seats, in the Rio Grande Valley, right? Those people are normally Democrats, but you have guys like Henry, is it Cuellar?
Yeah.
Who is opposed to abortion rights.
Yeah,
and extremely hawkish on the border, and what do we gain by having blue team good? Not really. If this person's going to take away your bodily autonomy and brutalize people for coming to this country for wanting a better life.
Yeah, it's a lot of some of these wins are kind of marginal at best, given the compromises or just given the kind of Democrats who can win it. It's like a Joe Manchin kind of situation.
Yeah, exactly.
And more to the point, it's not only is this evidence kind of that the Democrat strategy isn't working. It's not simply that they tried something and it failed. They tried something and it was so expensive that it stopped them from trying things in other areas where the money could have gone better. For an example of how fucking wasteful, particularly the Beto O'Rourke campaign was, right? He loses by 11 points to Greg Abbott. He raised $77 million to lose by that much. A few years earlier, Lupe Valdez ran against Greg Abbott. She raised $2 million and lost by 13 points. So $75 million may have bought Beto 2%. If you assume that national trends had nothing to do with that gap closing by a tiny amount.
With $75 million, I could take control of a moderately sized Texas city. That is
you could buy a chunk of Texas for 75.
You could purchase a large chunk of Fort Worth with that much money. No.
Yeah. That's our goal here at Cool Zone Media.
Yeah, to own Fort Worth. Finally, my dream completed. I'll be able to. I'm going to buy those horse statues at Las Colinas. Finally be happy.
Let's get Lucifer as well. It's probably a good time to pivot to ads that help us pay for our piece of Fort Worth.
Sure. Yeah. You know who isn't a waste of money? These fucking ads. So overall, we just talked about, Beto raised $77 million. The gubernatorial race cost in total something like $140 million, which is a huge amount of money for something that fails that badly and there's no evidence that Beto's campaign, he's obviously good at fundraising, right? And there was kind of this belief among a lot of Dems, an errant belief, that this meant that he would be good for down ballot races, right? He's going to bring because of how much attention he gets, he's going to raise the entire Democratic Party up. The poor showing of the Democratic Party in Texas in 2022 suggests that that's not the case. And the money, there are fights that could have been won and probably weren't because the money wasn't being invested in those fights. I was going to Beto. And I'm going to quote from an article by the Texas Tribune here. This year, the party ran Rochelle Garza, a civil rights lawyer with little political experience, against Attorney General Ken Paxton, who was widely seen as the most vulnerable Republican incumbent. But Garza struggled to raise money or gain traction in O'Rourke's shadow, and lost by 10 percentage points against Paxton, who has been indicted on felony security fraud charges and is being investigated by the FBI for abuse of office accusations. And it's what maybe she couldn't have won no matter what you did, but one of the rules of politics in this country is that the money you spend at a big race, like a gubernatorial race, like a Senate or a congressional campaign at the federal level, like a presidential campaign, goes less far per dollar than the money you spend in smaller local elections, right? $10 million going into that election might have done something, as opposed to $75 million going into Beto O'Rourke and accomplishing very little. This has been not just a problem in Texas. In previous elections throughout the Trump area and a little before in particular, this was a problem the Dems had kind of from the middle of the Obama years until the last couple of, really the last midterm. 2018 is when it started to turn around nationally. And the Dems have learned a lot in other regions about not spending stupid amounts of money on hopeless contests, but not comprehensively. So, for example, in 2022, the second most expensive House race was the 14th Congressional District of Georgia, where Marcus Flowers raised $16 million and lost by 32 points. Not a great return on the investment. And it was the reason why he raised so much money is because he was running against Marjorie Taylor Greene. And nationally, Dems outside of Georgia wanted to put in money because they hate her. And it's a trend that relies a lot on social media, on kind of the way in which hardcore Dems, the Dems that do a lot of the small dollar donations, think about politics, where it's Marjorie Taylor Greene, bad, donate money to opponent. Well, her opponent had no chance of winning in that district. No amount of money would have flipped that, and you just wasted $16 million that could have helped somewhere else. Maybe that's an insane thing, and it's not as bad as it used. If you want to look at the kind of the dumbest it ever was, in 2020, so Lindsey Graham's seat was up in South Carolina.
Oh my God.
And Jamie Harrison ran against Lindsey Graham, and Dems again, because Lindsey Graham, evil, raised $130 million and he lost by 10 points. Amy McGrath lost to Mitch McConnell, who is another, you can always get a shitload of money to fight Mitch McConnell. $94 million, lost by 20 points. Either of the, $130 million, $94 million, that's two state legislatures you could have flipped or at least made progress on flipping, right? That amount of money could potentially do that, or at least help set up, get a couple of people elected who have a chance at kind of broadening a base of support and becoming, leaders in states that are currently dominated by red legislatures. There's a chance at least here.
And that specifically the state legislature thing this has been a problem with the Democrats for fucking ages, which is that they just it is only genuinely in the last 2 years the Democrats have started giving a shit about state legislatures. And this is one of the things from the Obama era. One of the reasons everything sucks so much is that the Democrats managed to lose oh God, it was I think the total number, they lost 1,000 seats.
Yeah, it was
2010
a nightmarish failure.
We were seeing the product of this, right? Wisconsin was sort of just a hellhole for the last decade. And I mean, like, and these are like Minnesota too. Like, there are lots of these states that like, not Minnesota. What am I talking about? Michigan. Yeah,
Michigan.
Yeah, and there's a lot of these states, and like, and both of these places were winnable, right? Like the Democrats are winning there now, right? But they just like fucking left, like, they fucking left Flint to get poisoned by lead because they just not like the only things. The problem is there's no money for consultants in sort of like down ballot, like state and like local races, just jack shit, right? And the Democratic Party like is not run by sort of like it's not a party in like an actual real sense. It is a collection of consultants, and those consultants only care about Senate races. Sometimes they care about House races, and they care specifically. They spend all of their fucking money on presidential races, and it's like, and the Republicans don't do that because they have a bunch of like people. Because they have a bunch of like part of their base, right, is these like small and mid scale capitalists in cities and in rural areas who have like immediate concerns about like, there's like, there are specific workers who they want like lives to be worse. And so because of that, the Republican machine is like seized the entire fucking country. And the Democrats have been sitting around like spending like $1 trillion on Wendy Davis losing by 20 points.
Yeah. And it's like, you get these like cases where, you're looking at $30 million being spent, failing to unseat Marjorie Taylor Greene or something like 33 million, something like that. But what you don't like at the same time as like that's happening is all of these massive amounts of money are being devoted to these like to the races that get attention because there's famous names involved. You have like in 2020, I think it was, you have or no, it was 2022. You have the election between Ted Budd, a Republican, against the Democrat Sherry Beasley in North Carolina, where the Democratic Party decided not to prioritize this election because it wasn't winnable. And then Budd wound up winning by just 4 points. That's a seat you could flip with money. That's not an unreasonable thing, as opposed to, again, the races where it went to and people are losing by like 30 something fucking %. And if you want to know who a serious candidate is, who is not just trying to do the sexy thing or not just trying to like, again, flip the state so that we can win the federal election, but actually wants to help their state. And this is, again, there's very nice things about Beto O'Rourke. I was in Texas during the ice storm. He did good work during the ice storm, like actual like community defense kind of stuff that I do have some respect for. He is not and has never been a serious politician, and I will tell you why. He went from winning an election to losing a state election against Ted Cruz, to losing a presidential race, to losing the governor's seat. That is so fucking scattershot. That is not building a base of power. That is not building from the ground up and like encouraging the growth of other personalities. You're just darting from whatever the sexiest and most like PR-driven race is. That's not serious. I want to talk about what, number one, the Democratic Party, the shit that, like, as we've said, they're getting better. The National Party got a lot better at this, particularly in 2022. It was less stupid than the previous couple of elections had been.
Really difficult to be more dumb than that, but
it is.
See British Labor, et cetera, et cetera.
Israeli
Labor actually is the big one. Yeah. Oh my fucking god!
No, but British Labor are taking some.
I want to talk about what has worked and what I think could work again. And to do that, I'm going to talk about a guy named Howard Dean. Who here knows who Howard Dean was, Garrison?
Sadly.
Yeah, a little bit. Have you all heard the video of him screaming that got him like that destroyed his career? So
I have
before. Okay, well, James, would you load that up for us so we can play that in a second?
Let's do the Dean.
So Howard,
Jamie, pull that shit up.
Yeah. Howard Dean ran for president and was the first national political candidate to use the internet effectively to raise money in the history of U.S. politics. He's kind of pre-Obama worked out a lot of the strategies that Obama's people wound up using to very successfully raise money for him. He was really good at it. He was a reasonably intelligent candidate, and then he gave the speech that we're about to play for you, and it completely cratered ended him as a candidate.
I would say the thing about Dean is stunningly unlucky that he ran in the time that he did, Because the clip you're about to hear is 1,000 times less weird than anything DeSantis has ever done. Like he ran in an, I mean, there was Dan Quayle, right? But like he ran in an era where like the seriousness and like non-weirdness of politicians was so much higher.
Mia, it's in the chat, so you can.
Mia, pull that shit up.
This is a good shit.
Get straight to that beautiful scream.
We're going to South Carolina and Oklahoma and Arizona and North Dakota and New Mexico. And we're going to California and Texas and New York. And we're going to South Dakota and Oregon and Washington and Michigan. And then we're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House. Yeah!
That's it. That ended his career as a candidate.
Yeah.
And like it's a little silly, but that wouldn't be a 12-second news cycle today.
No.
But after kind of failing out as a presidential candidate, he became chairman of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and he was a pretty good one. His kind of primary strategic vision was what he called the 50-state strategy. Which is don't focus just on swing states, never write a state off at unwinnable. Instead, spread the money that the DNC has around to campaign throughout the country, everywhere, particularly to fund local DNCs so that they can start building a stable of candidates that can attract voters and eventually win local elections. It's not like it's not a sexy strategy because a lot of it is focused on like the slow kind of grueling fight to build up a base of support in unfriendly terrain. But it worked like really well, actually. In 20 or so states, those that had voted solidly Republican in previous recent presidential races, Democratic candidates like won elections that had previously gone against them. There were about like 20 states where the kind of slide to red was arrested and pushed back to blue. These are Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Georgia, Idaho, Kansas, Kentucky, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, and Wyoming.
You're supposed to scream when you do the list of states.
Hey! There we go. So basically, Dean's strategy led to a net gain of 39 state House seats and a 2% increase of all seats in the states analyzed. They lost 2, state Senate seats net, but it worked great in the House. Gained an attorney generalship, gained 3 House seats, gained a Senate seat. And in 15 of the 20 states, the Democratic nominee saw an increase in vote share between 2004 and 2008, which was the years that. So again, not super sexy. These aren't like we flipped Texas suddenly, but it's like, oh, we started to see real gains in like a lot of pretty red states. Now, it didn't work everywhere. It was not particularly successful in a large chunk of the South. Like, it did not arrest the slide into the red everywhere. But in a lot of the Midwest, particularly the states that were like the Hillary Clinton's so-called firewall that went for Trump in 2020, it was extremely effective. And of course, it got nixed immediately after Obama won election. And this is a big part of why in 2010, the Dems lost disastrously. But like the basic idea of we should be putting money into local Democratic parties in order to, like, number one, have like a big part of winning, any conflict, whether it's a war or a political election, is having the resources available, reserves, to take advantage of opportunities that present themselves in the moment. So you have a solidly red state House seat, or judgeship or something like that, or governorship or mayoralty. And a candidate has a health scare or has a scandal, they get caught fucking a 13-year-old or something, and suddenly this seat that was solidly red is in play. And if you have no one who can get votes, who can get voters excited, who can run for that, well, then you're probably not going to win it. It's just going to go to whoever the RNC, picks to pick up the seat next. But if you've got someone waiting in the wings, they have a chance at winning it. And a good example of this is what just happened in Jacksonville, Florida, right? You have DeSantis lunge to the fucking most fascist end of the right and pass this abortion bill that something like 75% of the state doesn't like. And the Dems had a decent candidate there that was able to run against the Republican mayor of Jacksonville and win. And in that election, the Dems spent $2 million and the Republicans spent $9 million. You are not talking about the kind of resources expended that you're seeing in some of these dumb races we're talking about. So anyway, like this is most of what I wanted to get into, is just like, you can win and you can improve things in Texas and you can build a base from which to actually change things electorally in that state. But you can't do it by just like focusing on whoever is at the top. Like, it has to be smarter. It's not just about shoveling money into a pit.
Yeah, and like I think there's a couple of things I wanted to add. One was that like, oh god, okay, like, so Tim Kaine got put in after they ran out Dean, and like Tim Kaine is like a once in a generation terrible politician, like one of the worst. Like, you know, but like you would see shit like, he is
the Winston Churchill of making me bored. Like,
yeah, like and like you would see shit. I mean, and this still happens, right? But like there are seats that are winnable that the Dems like just literally won't even bother finding people to run for because they're just fucking too lazy and they don't give a shit. And you know, this happens in a fucking lot of races. And you know, and part of the other thing that happens in this sort of period that, like, you know, is the reason why the top down. Okay, so this is like, if we're gonna actually do this sort of like complicated electoralism thing, like this is why Bernie Sanders lost 2 elections in a row, is that you can't actually like actual sort of like substantive political change like doesn't happen from the top down. It's like it happens from bottom up organizing. And you know, the Democratic waves in like the last 2 years were basically like them eating actual social movements. It's, you know, like it's them basically like there's a sort of rejuvenated anti-abortion movement that they just sort of consume, right? They've been doing a very, very good job of sort of like eating like whatever sort of queer rights like movements exist alive. And they had kind of stopped doing that for a while because they chose to just like destroy Occupy rather than like try to co-opt it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I mean, there were reasons for that, right? But like part of the thing, like if you are a Democrat and you want to actually like win Texas, you need to have like actual sort of social movements that, you know, the Democrats can eventually take over and destroy. But in the time between destroying them and you know, like in the brief time while they both exist and are controlled by the Democratic Party, that's how you actually sort of like build the kinds of coalitions, to build the kinds of organization that win these races. And the Democratic Party has just no interest in doing that, like almost anywhere, basically outside of Minnesota, where I don't know, those the Minnesota Dems are fucking built different. I don't know. I don't have another explanation for that. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's
like one of the things that you have the opportunity to do at the local level is, and this is a big factor in like politics in Georgia. You've got people who are motivated because of a specific political issue that the Dems are strong on, like abortion. And you can get people registered, you can get people out organizing, you can get people donating money, and most importantly, you can get people voting, and voting in numbers that they haven't before, and make. If you're able to kind of harness that sort of thing. But being able to harness that, again, part of it is and this is not sexy. This is not something we can say this is going to flip a state in 2024, but putting in the money and the resources to have people who are being supported to go out and make attempts and to build like a reputation and a base of support and networks in the state. Like that's the non-sexy thing that the number one, the Republicans are really good at. If you're asking yourself, looking at all these horrible anti-trans bills, anti-gay bills, anti-abortion bills, how do they do this? Well, because churches organized at the local level to build up the kind of support and the kind of human infrastructure that allowed them to take advantage of the kind of broader social trends that drove some of those states more deeply red, and that kind of like made it possible for them to do things that 10 years before people had said, like, there's no way to make this happen. That can work on the left side of things, but you have to have the groundwork in.
They started with like school boards. They started with going after school boards, going after books. Then you get a base of people riled up, then you can go after healthcare for minors, and you can go after healthcare for adults. It was a very easy path, and it started by like going to the most accessible places to have public comment on issues, which was complaining about books inside a school.
Yeah.
And another thing I'd say about the church thing is like the thing that used to do that for the Democrats was unions, but then they destroyed them all. But you can actually see what this looks like in the places where some like this is why the state level Midwest Dems are so much further to the left than the Dems everywhere else, because like the people of Minnesota, the people in Wisconsin are like the only reason they're even sort of remotely in power is because, and you're seeing this like at like in Chicago too with Brandon Johnson, is that like those people are like functionally dependent on like on their teachers unions to exist as like a political coalition.
Yeah.
And so union organizing is a like, we're just like fucking just giving money to a strike fund is even if the thing that you want to do is win elections, that is a more effective way of winning elections than fucking giving money to Beto O'Rourke like a seventh time.
Yeah. And again, when the thing I want to get across here is the right thing to do is not say, and no one is suggesting this here, fuck Texas, it can never be fixed. The right thing is saying, if you're focused on one famous guy running in Texas or this like top level thing of flipping Texas, you don't actually care all that much about the problems being faced by people in Texas, because that's not really going to fix them, right? Beto's not going to win, and even if Texas flips for an election, that doesn't mean the state legislature flips. It doesn't mean the governor flips. It doesn't mean that things get better for people. Doing these kind of bottom-up approaches, number one, will eventually flip the fucking state, right? There is a demographic trend happening. Part of how you flip the state, by the way, if you're actually responsible, is like proving that you can make people's lives better. If you want to flip the state, that's maybe more ethical than just being like, what if we dump $170 million to like try to make this guy who goes viral on YouTube or Twitter sometimes look better, right? Maybe one of those is more ethical than the other. Anyway, I don't want to rant about electoralism anymore, but as a transplanted Texan, I get frustrated by this. So I felt like we had to say something.
Yeah, I also get frustrated by Beto O'Rourke claiming to be punk, which is the least punk thing in the fucking. Well, that's another episode.
No, we have one elected leader who's gotten anywhere close to being punk, and it was Bernie Sanders when he got into that cold book depository that November morning with a Mannlicher Carcano rifle. Extremely punk. Anyway,
cutting the feed here.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Kids, pets, life, your sofa sees it all. But with a washable sofa, stains don't stand a chance. All of our sofa collections come with fully machine washable covers and cushions, making cleanup effortless. Liquid and stain-resistant fabrics provide extra protection against everyday messes. Plus, with modular designs, you can rearrange your sofa however you like. Perfect for growing families and changing spaces. Starting at just $699, it's time to upgrade to a stress-free, mess-proof sofa. Visit washablesofas.com today and save. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Oh yeah. It could happen here. A podcast where I just made my colleagues, I can see them through the Zoom, deeply uncomfortable by opening this podcast with a sound that you shouldn't make in the workplace. I'm Robert Evans. Joining me today is Mia Wong and Garrison Davis. Mia, take it from here.
Oh boy. So it's been this is okay. So this, I guess, is now like last week's Twitter thing. But
this is not a Twitter thing.
It kind of is. It kind of is. But
let's not frame this as a Twitter thing.
Yeah. Okay. So this is we are okay. We have been experiencing in the last like half decade, actually more longer than that. Oh God, it's like 7-8 years now. Like the sort of incredible rise in casual American anti-Semitism and the level of anti-Semitism that you can just do in sort of public discourse, and it's quote unquote fine. And one of the sort of biggest indicators of this is the extent to which it's now socially acceptable to just do the most like absolutely like unhinged like anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about George Soros. And specifically, the thing that specifically was like, okay, I need to do this episode was last week Elon Musk like compared George Soros to Magneto and then said, quote, "You assume they are good intentions. They are not. He wants to erode the very fabric of civilization. Soros hates humanity." And this is just like the mainstream line of the Republican Party now. Like, they just all do this. You can just sort of, I mean, and this is, and honestly, like, as bad, like, this is like the stuff that Elon Musk is saying is unbelievably unacceptable. That's not even anywhere near as bad as it goes. Like, it's pretty common to just hear these people like talking about the Satan Soros agenda and shit now. Like, it has gotten unbelievably, unfathomably out of control. And so today I wanted to take a look at, okay, who George Soros actually is, like the real human being, and not the sort of like caricature projection that has been created of him on the right. And I wanted to also sort of look at why the right hates him so much. And, Soros is kind of an interesting figure because he falls like right in the middle of like our two shows about people. Because he's not really like a cool person who does cool stuff, though he does stuff that's cool sometimes. But he's not also like a bastard properly. So,
although he's done some bastardy stuff too.
Oh, he has. Yeah. We are going to talk about that.
I mean,
most of what this episode is about.
I would say he's like 20% more complicated than the average billionaire on a moral level. I think that's fair.
I think like 20 or 30%.
There's somewhere in that neighborhood.
Yeah. And I think there's 3 George Soroses. 2 of them are real and one of them is fake. There is, so George Soros is a billionaire philanthropist, right? And, so that means that he has a sort of billionaire side and a philanthropist side, and they are very often working at cross purposes. Sometimes they're not working. Sometimes he aligns them together. Sometimes he doesn't. And so the way I've sort of structured this is like the first episode, we're going to be talking about the sort of billionaire side and how he did that. And the second episode is going to be more about the philanthropist side and how both of these basically have been kind of accidentally structured in such a way that the right was like, oh my God, this is the perfect guy to do anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about. And then there's also the third George Soros is like the one who's just literally the devil who the Republicans have made up. And yeah. So George Soros was born to a Jewish family in Hungary in 1930, which is not a good time to be born to a Jewish family in Hungary.
No. Really? There's not a good time to be born to a Jewish family in Hungary until like I'm gonna say sometime in the 50s.
Yeah, I will say that it gets way like it is way worse when he is born than it was in like even like the 1890s, which is like not a great time, but it's gotten significantly worse. He is 14 when the Nazis invade Hungary in 1944. And this is the point at which we get to our first Soros conspiracy, which is that there's this
it's a little more complicated than it's not really the Nazis. It's a little more complex than the Nazis invading. When the extermination of the Hungarian Jewish community begins, really in 1944.
Yeah, and so there's a thing that happens. I don't know. He and his dad have a kind of complicated, like, set of things they survive. And there's a part of the story that gets picked up by the right that gets, if you've ever heard Alex Jones talk about Soros, the second or third thing he will say is that like Soros is a Nazi collaborator. It was like a willing collaborator with the Nazis, which is not true. And also like he's 14. Like, you know, but
I don't really call even like 14-year-olds in the Hitler Youth willing collaborators because they're children. Like, you have to have a line at some point. Yeah, even with Nazis, where if they're kids, they're not really morally responsible either way.
Yeah, and like, you know, so the specific thing that he does is there's these notices that are sent out by the government that's like telling Jewish people to like go like to a place, and if you go to the place, you're going to get rounded up and killed. And basically, so the thing that actually happened is that so George Soros's dad is told to do this, and he gives it to George Soros and is like, go tell these people that they've been called for this, and that if they go, they're going to get taken away. And this has been transformed by, you know, this is a nightmarish thing these people are surviving. This has been transformed by a bunch of the worst people who've ever lived into Nazi collaboration, which is also, you know, the part of the story that never gets told, even when people sort of like do the like dive into like, oh, this is fake, is that the thing that like Soros's family spends the rest of the war doing is basically getting like counterfeit papers to Jewish families that like says that they're Christian, and you know they legitimately save a bunch of families from dying in the Holocaust. And you know,
the shit that Jones pulls on them is like part of this because of like the job this guy who's like saving young George Soros has involves like basically like itemizing stuff left behind by Jewish families forced out of their homes. He's like, they were profiting off of the Holocaust. No, they were like doing whatever job kept them under the radar while they attempted to help. Like it was the Holocaust. It was messy.
Yeah, but like,
it's a little like saying like Oskar Schindler took advantage of slave labor. It's like, well, no, it's actually what Schindler was doing was not that. Yeah. Like he was using the trappings of this slave labor system in order to rescue people. It's quite different from just enslaving people.
Yeah. I think the thing that's really disturbing about this though, right, is like, okay, like this is like Alex Jones is Alex Jones, right? He's just going to say the worst shit you've ever heard. But like this is like a thing that mainstream right wingers just say now.
Yeah.
And it's just like unbelievably horrible, and it sucks, and it's just like not true. But fortunately for George Soros, like his family makes it through the Holocaust. Well, his immediate family does, and they like get out and they end up in the U.S. And this is where this is something that I think is very important to the story that isn't told very much. So Soros is like a finance whiz, right? He is very, very, very good at finance. And we're going to be talking a bit about like how, like the things that he figured out to let him do this because it's interesting. But he's also not from the sort of like American or the British financial elite. Like there's like a certain kind of person, right, who like goes into finance, and you know, it's like WASP frat bros or like inbred British aristocrats, right? And George Soros is like a Hungarian immigrant, right? He is not sort of from these people. He is like, and you know, this is going to be a really big deal when he like goes up against the British financial elite later on. But you know, he through sort of like he's able to turn like a job doing door-to-door salesman into like a way into a firm, and he's able to sort of work his way up to a point where like he has his own hedge fund. And he is really, really good at this. He's one of the sort of early people who does hedge funds. There's a great book called The Influence of Soros, Politics, Power, and the Struggle for an Open Society by Emily Temkin, who did a lot of really great work, like interviewed Soros, interviewed an enormous number of the people who were around him. And I want to read a passage of this about like how he figured out how to sort of beat the market. He's talking about this guy named Karl Popper, who's like a philosopher of science who also wrote this book called The Open Society that we'll talk about next episode more. Popper's philosophy made me more sensitive to the role of misconceptions in financial markets, Soros said decades later. People believe that markets don't lie and should be trusted, but that isn't true, Soros knew. Markets react to humans, and humans are fallible. Instead of looking at the money being made, or as Sebastian Mallaby put it in More Money Than God, his book on the history of hedge funds, the psychology that drove investors' appetites, Soros looked at how one impacted the other, predicting that each would drive the other forward until the trusts were so completely overvalued that a crash was inevitable. And this is really smart. Like if you even today, right? If you're able to understand that, like the way a lot of hedge fund people tend to think about the market is as like the market, especially in this period, is this sort of dogmatic neoliberal thing of like the market is like a perfect conveyance of price signals. And Soros is like, no, it's made out of people, and those people like get greedy. They have emotional stuff. They get into these like FOMO, like fear of missing out stuff. They like intensely overvalue assets because everyone else sees that the asset's like expensive, and so everyone like rushes to buy it. And like this is something like even now, right? This is like a very smart way to understand finance. He's figured this out in like the 70s. And if you're able to do this kind of stuff and like use this to understand how the market works in the 70s, you are going to look like a god among men. And he starts a hedge fund in 1973. And by 1981, he has a fund that is worth $381 million in like 1981 money. I don't know what that is in modern money, but assume it's a lot. I'm a hack and a fraud. I should have actually figured this out.
Yeah, no, that's like $1 billion.
Yeah, and like he personally is like has like for himself like $100 million, right? And he, at this point he starts to become sort of very famous in finance circles because he's just like absolutely destroying the market. Now, okay, and this is where things get up until this point he's kind of like he's been doing a lot of sort of finance stuff that's kind of shady, but it's mostly just been him like ripping off other finance people, which I'm entirely okay with. Like, that's just very funny. But he starts to get into currency speculation. And in 1985, he has one of his big breaks, which is he predicts the Plaza Accords. Now, okay, the Plaza Accord is something we've talked about on the show before, but I need to talk about it a bit more because, unfortunately, we have to talk about the Asian financial collapse this episode, and this is like one of the key moments of the Asian financial collapse, even though it was like a decade earlier. So in 1985, Ronald Reagan is trying to like revive the U.S.'s domestic manufacturing industry because it's like dying. And, and the reason, a big part of the reason it's dying is that they're getting absolutely destroyed by sort of German and like West German and Japanese manufacturers. And part of what's happening here is that particularly Japan's currency is worth way less than the dollar. This is called having a weak currency. And having a weak currency is really good for if you have like an export-based manufacturing economy. And so Reagan basically like walks into a meeting with like the Germans, the Japanese government, the British, and like a few other people, and just like not quite in so many words, but basically just says like, you are all American military protectorates, and because you're all American military protectorates, like I can force you to increase the value of your currency, like, or else, capital O, capital E. And they do. They comply. And this is a thing called the Plaza Accords. And this weakens the value of the dollar versus a bunch of other currencies. And this like literally single-handedly like restores the profitability of American manufacturing like through the 90s, which is really wild. But the important thing for this story is that I don't know how he did this, but like George Soros predicts that this is going to happen, and he makes an unbelievable amount of money basically like basically doing currency speculation because he knows what like currencies are going to increase in value, which he knows that like for example, like he knows that like the Japanese yen is going to increase in value. So he makes an enormous amount of money doing this stuff. And he gets very famous for like, he'll like make a bunch of money and then he'll lose it again. And then he'll make it again. And this all culminates in, okay, so he starts taking truly enormous bets like against national currencies. And there's one of these that's just funny, and there's one of these that's really bad. So we're going to do the funny one first, which is, so in 1992, Soros, and this is the other part that never gets talked about, is like, it's not just Soros doing this stuff. He has like allies, because like as big as Soros' firm is, right, he can't, him and his allies are going to take a $15 billion short position on the pound. And even he doesn't have, like, nobody, like this is like 15 billion of 1990s money, right? Like, you need a bunch of firms working together in order to do this. But he basically takes this massive bet that the pound is going to go down. And because of the way that these bets work, like, the actual value of the pound, like, collapses. And the British central bank, like, doesn't have enough, the reason they're able to do this is they figure out that the British central bank doesn't have enough money to stop them. Like, they don't have enough money to, like, maintain, like, they don't have enough reserves to, like, maintain the value of the pound. And so he gets, like, completely blamed for this, even though, again, there's, like, other people involved in this, right? Like, the front page of the Daily Mail is literally his face in the title, "I made $1 billion crashing the pound."
Based.
Which is, okay, so, like, on an anti-British level, this is very funny. It's... No, so there's a bunch of arguments about, like, what does this mean for, like, the world economy and for national sovereignty. Soros thinks that, like, currency speculation is a necessary evil, and he has this sort of...
It's easy to think that when you're making that much money
yeah,
off of something.
Right. You know, it's like... Now, okay, this, like, specific thing, which is, like, a banker comes in and is able to manipulate the value of a currency. This is like absolutely like this is the fodder for like the absolute most paranoid fantasies of the anti-Semitic right. Like, it's this sort of like rootless cosmopolitan banker like attacks the good and righteous like noble people of Britain thing. And this is how it gets framed in the press, who are like, the press is, I mean, it's the British press, right? Like, the British are not known for, you know, not being anti-Semitic. And so they just like go wild with this. But, you know, like, this particular thing he's doing against the British, part of what's happening here, right, is there's this kind of like national populist equation thing going on here, where there's this assumption that like the Bank of the British central bank is like an entity that is identifiable with like an ordinary person in Britain. And like, no, like the British central bank is run by just unbelievably inbred aristocrats, right? And, you know, and
I think they're pretty believably inbred.
That's fair.
Yeah. We're just talking about like 0.56 of a Habsburg unit. You know, the Habsburg is the international unit for measuring how inbred someone is, if you're unaware.
That seems like a reasonable amount of inbred for these specific people.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like, but this is what I was talking about. Like, at the very beginning, I was talking about sort of like Soros not being from this sort of like normal class of finance people. And the thing is, like, the normal class of finance people are fucking terrible at their jobs, right? Like, these inbred British aristocrats and like the fucking American like cocaine frat boys, just doing lines of cocaine off each other's ass cracks. Like, these people all suck at their jobs. And George Soros is like smart and is good at his job. And so he just like absolutely goes through these people like a fucking flaming chainsaw. And he just like, you know, and the maneuvers that he's doing here, he just like absolutely humiliates all of the people at the British Central Bank. He's humiliating, like, and not just those guys too. He's humiliating the Tories. He's humiliating like all of the people who are seriously important in the real economy, in the sort of real British economy. And he can do this, right, because like his opponents are, you know, people who are like they're promoting their like they take in like their people from college, right, and they're promoting them based off how good they are at golf. And so when he just sort of like walks in and just makes like billions of dollars just like destroying these people, he makes just a permanent enemy of a very, very powerful like faction of the British ruling class. And the British ruling class, like, I don't know, it is hard to find people who will beat the British ruling class in an anti-Semitism off. And this is one of the things that sort of, you know, if you're looking at like why Soros specifically is the guy who all of these sort of right-wing conspiracies wind up being about, like part of it is because he pisses off these specific people.
Yeah, these guys whose like dads were all friends with the King of England, who was like a close personal buddy with Hitler. Like it's a bunch of guys who are already pretty bigoted, and then they get beaten at their own stupid financial game. And so like the fact that it's a Jewish dude who does it means that they're going to be even more racist than they already were. And the fact that there's plenty of international anti-Semitism, and that George Soros after this starts funding liberal and you know vaguely progressive causes, like it's not surprising that this is the way things went.
Yeah, and you know, and again, like I can't underemphasize the extent to which this is also very specifically the reaction of the British media class, who, I mean, we know now that those people are psychos. Like we have seen them see a trans person in a boat race and like 10 years ago, and like draw a giant thing circling them in a boat and making it a front page news story. Those people in the 90s were
that's
like,
true. They are biologically better at navigation. that is actually been proven.
Yeah, but they're like just
science.
as they're just as sort of feral and like terrifyingly bigoted then as they are now. And this means that like just if you're a regular British person and you are like walking down the street and there's a newspaper stand, you are seeing like truly unbelievably terrifying anti-Semitic shit, like just literally everywhere. And this will have no consequences whatsoever. Yeah, it's all good. Nothing bad ever happens. And speaking of no consequences, do you know what we can promise about products and services?
23 minutes in.
You know, look.
You're welcome, Daniel.
Okay, we're back. We have to talk about... Okay, so the doing it to the British economy was mostly just really funny, because the British economy is going to be fine. And the funny part about him doing this to the British economy is that this actually, unfortunately, helps the British economy, because it forces the British to, like, abandon some truly spectacularly not very good financial policy they were doing. But then he does it to Thailand. And that is a lot less justifiable. So this is 5 years later. This is 1997. Soros brings in some economists, Arminio Fraga, like Roddy Joes, David Klowitz. He's bringing in people who are sort of experts in like developing market economics, and that's no one has ever brought in a developing market economist for like a good reason. And what they realize is that they start doing analysis of Southeast Asia, like the Southeast Asian markets, and they realize very quickly that Thailand is fucked. They figure out that Thailand has its currency pegged to the dollar, and but you know they don't have the reserves to support this. And the actual Thai currency isn't strong enough to maintain like stay being pegged to the dollar. It's not a strong enough currency, and so they do a $2 billion short of like Thailand's currency. And I'm going to read from the Influence of Soros again about like the process of this. It was a debate we had, Jones told me. We'd gone to work in Asia, and here you are taking large-scale short positions in countries with institutional fragility. Going for the jugular in the United Kingdom was one thing. Doing the same in Thailand was another. The Bank of England would surely recover. Thailand was a developing economy, and it was unclear what impact outside investors could have. Soros has justified speculation with the idea that it could serve as a kind of warning to governments. Look, Thai government, the baht needs to devalue. Change your policy now before a currency collapse is devastating for your people. The trouble is, the Thai government didn't do this. Instead, it spent months using Bank of Thailand reserves to buy Thai baht. When it finally ran out in early summer 1997, the value of the baht plunged 32% against the dollar, and millions of Thai people lost their livelihoods. The Soros Fund made $750 million.
Yeah, it's a little bit like me being like, look, yes, I made a lot of money selling heroin to those middle schoolers. But really, when you think about it, it was a warning to those schools that it was too easy for me to bribe the janitor to sell heroin to kids there. You know, I was actually performing a public service.
So true, Robert. It is just like that.
You know, to be fair, you know, I'm not going to finish that thought.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
We need one person to remain uncanceled here to keep the lights on.
Oh, God. Does it have to be me? Oh, no.
Yeah, no, legally it does.
This is really bad.
Yeah.
No more joking, Mia. We can't suffer any other jokes.
Yes. Somebody's got to upload this episode.
All right. Here's the next joke. Soros actually doesn't make money off of his speculating in Southeast Asia, because he loses basically the same amount of money taking like a long position in Indonesia.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me when I took a long position on doing cocaine in my bathroom with the money that I made selling drugs to all those kids, you know? We're a lot alike, him and me. We're a lot alike.
Well, okay, to be fair, and this is something I the reason I wanted to talk about this specifically is that, like, okay, like, to this day, if you look under sort of, if you every once in a while someone there'll be a tweet that's like what did George Soros do, and immediately there will be a bunch of people talking about how he like deliberately destroyed all of the economies in Southeast Asia.
Yeah,
and that's not really what happened. And
no, that would be, for one thing, too much to put on one guy fucking around with a couple. Yeah, but
yeah, and I wanted to actually kind of walk through this a little bit in depth, just because. Okay, there's a really, really easy way to think about the economy that is bad. It leads you into anti-Semitic traps, which is like, hey, here is like one banker who wanted to make money, and because he wanted to make money, he like destroyed all these economies. And like on the one hand, yeah, like Soros betting against like the Thai currency is bad, right? Like this is not a thing you should have been doing. On the other hand, you know, okay, so that's like the sort of level one thing, but the thing about this is the sort of like great man anti-Semitism theory of collapse, and this is the theory that a lot of the sort of regional leaders take, you know, because and this is sort of a crucial thing, right? This position very conveniently allows them to just like not think about capitalism in general or like their role in this crisis, which is not insignificant. And so in order to figure out what actually happened here, we need to look at so Soros sort of like tipped some dominoes, right? But the dominoes were already there, and they were going, like, regardless, even if Soros had never existed, right? Like, they were going to fall. And they were going to fall because, ironically, of the Plaza Accords. So, you know, we talked about the Plaza Accords earlier. The U.S. forces Japan to increase the value of its currency relative to the dollar. Okay, so this is great for the American economy. This nukes the Japanese economy. I mean, the Japanese economy, you know, we'll talk about this in a bit too. It was already kind of doing bad. When the U.S. does this and its manufacturing economy just like implodes, it guts the Japanese economy. The Japanese economy has never recovered from this. It probably will never recover really into what it was. And you know, the effect this has is that now the government of Japan has to figure out how to grow their economy without having any like way to make money that grows your economy. And now they have a stronger currency. And so their solution is, okay, what did they all the central bank people look around each other and they go, what is a strong currency good for? Housing speculation. And so they start slashing interest rates, and they start basically building an entire economy based on the assumption that housing prices will always go up, and so you should just take out loans so you can buy houses because the value of the housing will because you know, housing prices will always go up, so you can have all of these assets based on mortgages. This may or may not be sounding familiar to everyone who lived through 2008. And so, you know, in 1982, the entire Japanese economy implodes sort of again, because they literally built the 2008 machine. And so this forces the U.S. to do something called the Reverse Plaza Accords, where they take the original Plaza Accords and they reverse it, and they increase the value of the American dollar. American manufacturing dies, like it's never recovered, it's never coming back. And this stabilizes the Japanese economy a little bit, but it means that the U.S. now no longer has a functional economy. And so we do our solution to this is we do 2008, right? We build an entire economy also on the Japanese model of currency of like housing price speculation on like, or like the rising prices of like stocks, right? We build an economy completely made of bullshit. But, okay, what does this have to do with the Asian market collapse? Okay, the problem is that like all of the countries in East Asia and like Southeast Asia also do this. They also do the thing where they're like, oh, so our manufacturing economies are declining, right? So we're gonna base our entire economy on housing prices going up. And it's like not George Soros. That's the thing that actually destroys like the sort of that's the thing that actually destroys all of these economies. And, and I wanted to sort of run through this, and, this is like a lot of like sort of econ shit, right? But the reason I wanted to run through this is that I think it gets at the sort of truly horrifying thing about how our economy works that is really difficult to face, and is, I think, it's at least a part of why people really, really want there to just be one guy who is running everything, whether that's the CIA, whether that's Soros, whether that's like the New World Order. Yeah, right. Because if there's like a guy who's doing this, right, you can stop him. But the great horror of this world is that there is no deep state, right? There is no Satanist cabal. There's no one pulling the strings at all. The only thing that is there is just sort of the cold, lifeless, and inexorable death logic of capital. And that logic is moving all of us, right? The people who are doing the conspiracies, insofar as they exist, are being moved by this. All of the rulers are being moved by capital. All of us, the subjects, are being moved by capital. But that, like, sucks, right? Like, the fact that all of these economies are destroyed not by, like, the individual actions of people, but by the fact that, like, returns are less good in Thailand than they are in China. And this is just sort of the inexorable logic of the entire economic system we have. This is absolutely terrifying. And faced with this sort of reality, right? Like, people who want to protect capitalism because, they have a bunch of assets in it, right? Retreat into this sort of like, they use Soros as a smokescreen for like why everything is suddenly going wrong. But sort of simultaneous to this, right? This is also a real problem for George Soros, because he's like, when he's not sort of in his role as like capital, he's like not a piece of shit. He's like a person who wants the world to be better. And this causes a sort of there was a contradiction in his ideology, right? Which is that he wants the world to be a better place, and simultaneously he's also a capitalist. And these two things are sort of warring with each other. Even as early as sort of the 90s, he's giving speeches about how like his open society that he wants, it's a sort of like this liberal democratic society of like laws and norms and human rights. The greatest danger to it has ceased to be communism. It's now capitalism. But he can't do anything about it because he is also a capitalist. And next episode, we are going to watch Soros, like, through his philanthropic endeavors, attempt to solve the problems that his economic system has caused and fail catastrophically and become the sort of boogeyman and the anti-Semitic specter of every conspiracy theory in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So check out that next time. And, if you're hanging out around Clark Middle School and you have $40, I can hook you up with some of that sweet black tar. So, give me a ring. My phone number's posted in the show notes of every episode.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Tired of spills and stains on your sofa? Wash away your worries with Anabay. Anabay is the only designer sofa that's machine washable inside and out, starting at just $699. Plus, Anabay sofas are pet-friendly, stain-resistant, and feature changeable slip covers and modular pieces. Get up to 60% off site-wide with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Visit WashableSofas.com to get yours now. That's WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
It Could Happen Here, the podcast where I attempt to wrangle jokes that are enough okay that we keep podcasting. With me here to wrangle is Robert Evans and also Garrison Davis. Welcome back.
My two uses in this series are to make corrections on Hungarian history of the Holocaust and talk about selling heroin to children. So proud to be here.
I'm very excited. You're going to hear me complain. You're going to get to listen to me very briefly complain about Play-Doh, a thing I did not think I was going to do when I started this.
Like the philosophy guy?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So, all right. Why are we eventually going to talk about Play-Doh? So George Soros is probably best known for a foundation that he eventually funds called Open Society. It was originally the Soros Foundation. Then he was like, why am I naming this after myself? And it changed to Open Society. I'm going to read. So the Open Society is a very sort of.
Again, I got to say, exactly 20% more self-awareness than you get from the average billionaire. Like Bill Gates is like, we'll call it the Gates Foundation. Soros is like, we'll call it the Soros. Wait, no, you know what?
Well, and to be fair to Soros, right? Like Soros has a real ideology, and it can't work. But if it did, the world wouldn't be that bad. Unlike what would happen if you let Bill Gates run rampant over the earth, which is the world we live in right now. So I'm going to read a little bit from The Influence of Soros again about like what the Open Society is. I have lived through Nazi persecution and Soviet occupation, Soros later said. Popper's book, this is Karl Popper, Open Society and Its Enemies, struck me with the force of revelation. It showed that fascism and communism have a lot in common, and that they both stand in opposition to a different principle of social organization, the principle of open society. So, okay, I read this and I was like, okay, so let's go read Karl Popper's book, which is called The Open Society and Its Enemies. And so I assumed, right?
That's interesting, Mia. I was also doing Poppers last night.
You had the superior experience with your Poppers. I'm assuming. I had a bad fucking time when I read this like last week.
You should have gotten yours from a gas station too.
Yeah, no. Instead, I got it from the internet for free, which questionable results. So I read this book, right? So this is Karl Popper is like normally a philosopher well, he's like a scientist, right? He's most famous for like philosophy of science stuff, but he also wrote this book. And this is his critique of totalitarianism. So, okay, I'm expecting, right, it's going to be half of it's going to be about the Nazis and half of it's going to be about the communists, right? No, the first half of this book is about Plato. And the second half of this book is about Marx. But he spends like 200 pages yelling at Plato. And to be fair, everything he says about Plato and about why Plato is a totalitarian is completely true. But, like, his conclusion about what totalitarianism is that totalitarianism is descendant, it's like the product of this thing he calls historicism, which is when, like, you have one thing that's the agent of history. And so he sees like I don't know, like a great man, or like the guy, like whatever, Hegel's Geist, or like one great nation, or like a great class, as like these are all examples of historicism. And if you think about history like this, you will this is how totalitarianism is born. And I am incredibly skeptical of that, of the view of the way you think about history being the origin of totalitarianism. I don't know. It's a very, very weird book in a lot of ways. Popper is trying to do this thing that like a lot of kind of liberal philosophers of that period is doing, which is that he's trying to reconcile sort of like individual freedom, but then also sort of economic egalitarianism. And, you know, okay, so if you were actually serious about doing both of these things, right? Like the two things you care about on Earth are protecting individual freedom and achieving economic egalitarianism, you have two options. You either become an anarchist and you sacrifice neither of your values, or you become a neoliberal and you sacrifice both. And Popper, unfortunately, takes the second route. And
yeah, I feel like a lot of the conflict between kind of like reconciling, you know, the great man theory of history with some of these other, like it comes out of an unwillingness to look at systems of power, because the extent to which like individual weirdos and their obsessions influence history is largely due to, or is largely like related to the degree of power that like different systems allow to be invested into like individual weirdos. Like it's less a matter of like, you've got these sort of, you know, that kind of fascist idea, you've got these sort of individuals who embody the spirit of a people, and more if your system allows huge amounts of power to be invested in individual people with their weird hangups, then those weird hangups of this one guy may wind up defining history. I don't know. This is an unrelated rant.
Well, no, I think it is related, because this is sort of the core flaw of this ideology, which is that these people conclude, okay, so like they don't, okay, the thing that they have to do, like Popper has to do, right? Because he like acknowledges that a lot of the Marxist critique is really powerful, and that like it is in fact not very good that you have an entire class of people who like survive off of extracting like labor from another class of people. But, you know, if you accept that, right, you can't actually like defend capitalism on the merits of it being an economic system. You have to like do this like circle run around dance of like defending ideas. And this all gets to this point where the problem that you're talking about happens, which is that like, well, okay, capitalism is also a system where one really weird guy and his like terrible ideas can have an enormous impact on how society operates. Like this is the thing we're all suffering from like Elon Musk, right? Or like what's that guy's name? Like Robert Moses, right? Like
yeah,
like like capitalism is absolutely a system that generates just one guy who can just fuck everyone's entire lives.
And that's a perfect example of it, because like the fact that Moses has these weird personal hangups around public transportation and this love of being driven around influences how tens of millions of people live to this day, and influences like the global climate crisis. And so it's not like this great man didn't like grab the lathe of heaven. It was more like, no, our society, kind of like the system we set up, allowed an enormous amount of power for this specific thing, how our cities are set up, to be invested in an unelected weirdo because he was the only one interested enough to focus on it. And that led to this very bad situation.
Yeah, and like I think Popper's thing with that was like, well, okay, you deal with this by like just having elections. for everyone. And it's like, well, okay, like sometimes you have elections.
Yeah, we never vote for crazy assholes. Like, thank God.
Sometimes you get Donald Trump, right? Like these are things that are going to haunt both Popper. Well, Popper doesn't live long enough to see like the absolute worst this can possibly go, but George Soros unfortunately has lived to see exactly how badly this can possibly go. But let's call him by his nickname from now on. G Sizzle. Is that good?
We're not
doing that. We're not doing that. Thank you, Garrison. This is why you're here. You have power of attorney over what nicknames we call the subjects of the episodes.
I will keep and reserve this power for.
See, we've built a system to try and stop individuals with weird hangups from influencing history so much. It's that simple, folks. Devolve powers.
Yeah, works great.
Mm-hmm. This could work for the presidency.
Unfortunately, we're gonna have to talk about Yugoslavia this episode, so it doesn't always work.
Mm-hmm.
But all right, so back in sort of the heady days of the 70s and 80s, George Soros, like, okay, he has a dual thing where he at once has his kind of crisis of conscience thing where he's like, I want to actually do something with my life that's not just, I want to have an impact on the world that is positive and not like I made so much money that like gods look at it and vomit. And so his solution is he sets up a tax dodge, and he's actually very explicit about this in interviews that his first foundation to do charity work was set up as a tax dodge. But this is where Soros is very interesting, right? Because he has, for like a billionaire, right? He has some positions that are startlingly very good. So he is anti-apartheid, and that is like not a thing you can guarantee from people in that era. Like, oh boy. He also, and this is something that gets him in trouble like to this day, is he is pro-Palestine. And this is part of why like Netanyahu absolutely hates him. I mean, he's not like okay, he's not
like a radical pro-Palestine.
Yeah, no,
but by the standards of Netanyahu, a radical. Yeah.
It was like his his sort of like liberal humanism, like, hey, we should not like shoot children with guns thing.
Yeah, is broadly anti-shooting children for throwing rocks.
Yeah, and like that makes you a like enemy number one of the Israeli state. Well, yeah, no, I'll put him in like enemy number.
No, the enemy number one is those kids, but enemy
he's
number
like number
two.
3 or 4. They haven't whacked him yet. So, oh god, speaking of things that the Israeli government didn't do, so he gets his start.
Oh, I thought you were going to do an ad pivot.
I also thought that was going to be an ad break.
Don't worry, I have a better one. It's coming.
Oh, good.
So in the 1980s, his first experience like doing charity work is he decides that he's going to go up against like apartheid in South Africa, and this is good. So what he starts doing is he starts giving scholarships to black students to go to the University of Cape Town. And then he learns a very, very important lesson about neoliberalism that he's going to like promptly forget after this, which is that, okay, so what actually happened, what he thinks is going to happen, right? What he's trying to do is he's trying to make sure there's more money for black kids to go to university. What actually happens is that the state uses his money to pay for the existing scholarships and stops paying for any more scholarships. And so there's two things going on here, right? One is the obvious, this is the apartheid racism, right? Like they don't want more non-white kids going to school. But then two, also, this is also sort of a classic neoliberal failure, which is like when you replace the state with like billionaire philanthropists, the state simply, instead of like, having more of the resources, the services provided, the state just stops doing it and spends more money on cops. And so Soros very quickly realizes that like he figures this out and is like, fuck this. Like, no, I'm not going to help you. Like, I'm not going to help the apartheid government do racism. And so this makes him kind of weary of this stuff because he has sort of seen what happens when you very explicitly try to work within a system that is unbelievably fucked up, which is that the apartheid government uses your money as a way to like funnel more of their own money into their own pockets. And do you know who else uses systems of apartheid to funnel more money into their own pockets?
Oh, okay. I see. I now see what you were doing. I think I think the previous attempt at an ad break was actually better. I was kind of
okay. You know.
I mean,
Mia I accept criticism.
Correct that our podcasts are entirely sponsored via a time machine we used to go back to apartheid South Africa. And get their advertising dollars. So please keep the Krugerrands flowing and purchase these products and services. I learned that Krugerrands was the South African currency from the movie Lethal Weapon 2. We're back, and I'm sitting uncomfortable in the knowledge that I am the only person on this Zoom call who has watched Lethal Weapon 2. Have either of you seen any of the Lethal's Weapon?
No.
Unbelievable. Oh, you're missing maybe the best Mel Gibson performance outside of that time he got pulled over in Malibu and gave a racist rant to those California State Highway Patrol officers. Mel Gibson.
So speaking of people who are about to give racist rants. Okay, so the other thing about Soros, and the thing that is sort of blisteringly ironic about how the sort of course of anti-Soros attacks go, is that Soros is like a vehement, like pretty hardline anti-communist. And this is what he spends most of his time like in the 80s doing is like giving money to anti-communist groups in communist countries. So he funds Solidarity in Poland, which is this like very mixed record. We'll get this.
Yeah, we don't need it. Like he's funding anti-communist causes.
Yeah, he's funding, but he's funding. He's trying to fund like a very specific kind of like liberal anti-communist cause, right? And this goes badly for him in a number of ways. One is that the moment the Berlin Wall falls, everyone just like suddenly forgets about all of the anti-communism that he did, because. And this is something about this specific kind of anti-communist that he is, right? Like, there's a lot of anti-communists who are just like death squad guys, right? Like, this is your guy trained by Chiang Kai-shek who's like shooting peasants in like El Salvador, right? There's also like another kind of anti-communists in this era who are sort of liberal anti-communists who like are anti-communist, but like also anti-Pinochet, for example. Like Soros gives some money to the people. When Pinochet has his big referendum of his like, should I stay in power? He gives money to the people who are like, no. And those are people who their intentions are better than the just like absolutely horrifying right wingers. But, it doesn't go great for him. So Soros, his initial plan, right, is he's gonna, when he's trying to like start funding anti-communist groups, his thing was like he was gonna go into Hungary and he was gonna like give Hungarian students scholarships, and the Hungarian students were like, "Don't do this. Like, if you just show up and give us money, the state is immediately going to be able to go like, hey, you are like outside funded opposition people doing like regime change stuff, and it's gonna like immediately discredit us." And so this is the point where he sets up the Soros Foundation, which opens. There's a whole thing with this stuff changes names like many times.
The Open Society Foundation stuff.
Yeah, and so what we should talk about what they actually do, because in sort of like
I can tell you one thing that they do, because I used to work with, when I was teaching classes at Bellingcat, my partner Giancarlo, he would go and teach, because he was born and for at least a period of time raised in Venezuela. He would teach classes in Latin America to local journalists who wanted to know open source investigative techniques, and who didn't have the kind of money to pay what it usually costs to do a Bellingcat thing. And that program, whereby a bunch of journalists in Latin America, particularly Colombia, got training, was funded by the Open Society Foundation. And so a couple of years ago, when there was that massive swelling of like the police murdering people in protest crowds and stuff in Colombia, the journalists who were like doing open source investigation to track down which police officers were, you know, killing folks and how this was going were a lot of the folks that Giancarlo had trained. Like that's
really cool.
the kind of stuff that one of the kind of things that the Open Society Foundation does.
Yeah, they also do a lot of like giving students scholarships. The other thing they're really big on that doesn't get talked about much is that they were huge on like cultural events, basically, like paying people money to like put on plays and like theater stuff and music and like writing poems and books, which is like, I don't know, like I actually think that's cool. Like we as a society used to do this. Like we used to like pay people, like the government used to pay people to like write things and like create art, and then we decided that was bad and have never done it again. And
yeah, I'm anti-creating art, for the record. That's why I'm really happy about all this AI stuff.
Bait post. Do not engage.
So, unfortunately for the Soros Foundation, one of the people they give these scholarships to is Viktor Orbán, which is
Viktor Orbán. Oh, you mean
Viktor Orbán.
The Hungarian president in quotation marks. Sure,
yes, we shall return to that. This is, I think, maybe the single greatest example of like creating young gravedigger I've ever seen in my entire life. I don't know. Like one of the things that comes up about this, and this is one of the things that another one of the guys who Soros backs, who like betrays him later on, says is that Soros is bad at politics. Like he's like not very good at it. Like he's not, you know, people like the sort of like thing about him is that he's this sort of like criminal mastermind who can like bankroll revolutions and stuff. And he just like gets outmaneuvered by people constantly in ways that are like kind of depressing. Yeah, but okay, so he's spending the 80s like doing all of this, you know, like doing this sort of cultural work, and you know, in Hungary, right? There's a sort of interesting thing that happens where like he's wealthy enough that like even the Communist Party is, you know, sort of like has to work with him because he has money, and they sort of don't. But you know, the other thing that's I think important to understand is that he's not like, there's a bunch of foundations who do like exactly the same stuff, right? Like maybe slightly worse. Like, you know, there's like the Ford Foundation, there's like the Rockefellers, right? Or the Rockefeller Foundation. Like they all like at any place where open society is like doing stuff, there's like a worse version of it that the Ford Foundation and like the Rockefellers are doing. But, you know, somehow stunningly only one of these groups is singled out for being yelled at all the time, and I will leave as an exercise to the reader why specifically they picked Soros and not Ford.
Huh. I wonder what
big mystery.
I wonder what differences and cultural views might be at play here.
Yeah. So, okay, the other real problem that he runs into, which is a cultural problem, is that, okay, this is the problem that all of the liberal anti-communists run into, which is that, okay, so the walls come down, right, and the communist governments fall, and it turns out that the anti-communists in Eastern Europe are almost all right-wingers, and their base are all, like, right-wing nationalist fanatics. Here's another Soros quote about this. I thought I would blaze the trail, I would lead and others would follow, but now that I look back, I find that there was practically nobody behind me. I ask myself what went wrong. And part of what went wrong is like what Soros is doing in these places. So, for example, he's involved in funding Solidarity. He's involved in some of Solidarity's negotiations with the government. And then the other thing that he does is he's one of the people who helps like do structural adjustment in Poland. And this goes really badly because, so what we were talking about, okay, we should talk a little bit about what Solidarity is because he helps destroy it by accident. Solidarity is this giant sort of like social democratic union that forms in like the early 80s in Poland. That's like the first sort of independent union in one of these communist countries. And they eventually are able to sort of like knock off the government, but they come into power. And so they do on sort of Soros's advice and on the advice of a lot of the sort of financial people they're getting, right? All of the people are telling them to do privatization. So they do it, right? They privatize all of these giant state-owned like facilities. They privatize their docks, like stuff like that. And this, it turns out, just causes massive deindustrialization. It destroys Solidarity's base because there's suddenly no longer all of these union jobs at all of these state-owned factories. And so, they lose the next election and then Solidarity like vanishes forever into the mist of time. There's like 6 of those guys left. And this is a real sort of Soros problem. This that like keeps running over and over again, right? Is that, he spent all this time being an anti-communist, but then the actual anti-communists who have bases and who aren't just like destroying their own bases by like doing privatization, which is stuff he's also pushing, right? Are these right-wingers. And this is just sort of a fiasco. And, it's like he does like, he tries to do like a very similar thing to what he'd been doing in Eastern Europe and China. And this goes like even worse because he winds up backing one of the CCP factions who gets purged after Tiananmen. And so, Soros, like, as the sort of 90s go on, right, like, he's kind of slowly starting to realize that, like, the stuff that he's doing's not working very well. And one of the sort of, I don't know if consequence is the right word, but one of Soros' sort of like principles that makes him different from a lot of other these billionaires, right, is he doesn't do humanitarian aid. His thing is that like he wants to produce a society that doesn't need humanitarian aid, which is sort of noble, but like then Yugoslavia falls apart. And he winds up doing a bunch of stuff in Yugoslavia. Like he winds up building like a water purification plant in Sarajevo while it's under siege. And the other thing that I didn't know he was like really heavily involved with is like he's basically the reason why the UN War Crimes Tribunal that like tries Milosevic and stuff like happens. Like he funds it. It wasn't really like a UN thing. He was like, hey, we're going to have this tribunal. And then the German government like arrested one of the war criminals just sort of randomly at like an airport or something. And he's able to convince sort of like Clinton and a bunch of other people to like actually turn, and the UN to like turn this into a real court. And this pisses off a lot of people. And like by a lot of people, I mean like very specifically it pisses Milosevic off because somewhat obvious reasons that he's trying to try him for war crimes. Okay, so I think, Gare, you're too young for this. Robert, do you remember Rock the Vote?
God. Oh, yes, I remember Rock the Vote.
Okay, so one of the things Soros does is he does like he brings like a rock to vote. He's like one of the people who brings the rock to vote to like Slovakia.
Great.
And, and this is the first time that like...
this is how we introduce people to democracy, by showing them how cringe it can be. Perfect.
Well, and the government is immediately, this is sort of the first time that like a government is seriously like, well, I mean, it's not, okay. This is the first time that you've had like a protest movement that starts and the head of the country goes like, it's George Soros. He's the one doing this, even though like the Ford Foundation again and the Rockefellers and just like a bunch of random people in Slovakia are also doing this. But this is sort of going to become like a pattern in these things because he's sort of like I think Soros is doing, he's kind of like poking a lot of sort of very powerful, like increasingly powerful sort of regional right-wing leaders because he looks at the societies and are like, it sucks to have like just dog shit right wingers who are like racist and hate everyone running a country.
Yeah, that sounds like it would be bad.
Yeah, and this is the thing about Soros, right? Like every once in a while, right, he sees something really bad going on and goes, "I'm gonna throw a bunch of money at it, try to fix it." And so one of the things that he does this for is the war on drugs. Like in sort of the 80s and 90s, like Soros looks at this and is like, this fucking sucks. Like this is really bad. And so he starts working in Baltimore where the government is trying to do like something that's like pretty like something like even now is considered sort of like pretty radical like harm reduction stuff. So I mean, they like Baltimore in the 90s has needle exchanges. He's doing like Narcan trainings for people. He's doing things like fun instead of like giving money to like he has these programs to like get people out of like prison faster, and he's doing like after school programs for kids. And this stuff's like genuinely good. Like there's no like, I don't know. It sucks that like it's billionaire money that's like doing it, but like I don't know, like probably there's a lot of people who are alive because they didn't get HIV from needles that they were able to do exchanges for.
Yeah, sure, that's all good stuff.
Yeah, but the interesting thing about Soros, right? He's like not like he's doing stuff that's like pretty lefty, right? But he's like not a partisan guy until he sees George Bush. And he like the day after 9/11, he's like, holy shit, this guy is a maniac. And like it instantly has like the switch flips of like this man is an enemy to open society, which is true. And he's like he like gets this brain of like, I need to bring this man down. And so he starts getting really, for the first time, right? He starts getting really, really involved in the 2004 election. He's doing like these like micro-targeting ad stuff. He's like throwing money around everywhere. And, I mean, he explicitly, like the way he looks at it, like if he's very explicit about this, is like he wants to level the playing field between the Republicans who are funded by just a trillion right-wing billionaires and the Democrats who are funded by not that many billionaires. The problem with this is that he has like a very weird view of what's wrong with Bush. I'm going to read from The Influence of Soros again. In imposing its view of freedom on both the American people and a foreign country, quote, the supremacist ideology of the Bush administration is in contradiction with the principles of open society because it claims possession of an ultimate truth. Which, I don't know, I don't actually think like claiming possession of an ultimate truth is like specifically the thing that like is the reason why the Bush administration is bad. But simultaneously, I don't know, like it's hard for me to be like too mad about a billionaire seeing George Bush and just like going, oh my God. And sort of,
yeah, it didn't work, but it's good that he gave it the old college try.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately this has a backlash effect, which is the Republicans see him start doing this and they're like, oh shit, this is incredible campaign material for us. And we start seeing like the sort of the less openly anti-Semitic like precursors to like all the stuff we see today. Like Bill O'Reilly goes after him. Mm-hmm. Oh God, Robert, do you remember Dennis Hastert?
Oh yeah. Oh man, Dennis. Look, if I'm listing my favorite pedophiles who were long-standing speakers of the House of Representatives, Dennis Hastert is easily in the top 3.
This is the thing that's been like collectively wiped from like America's conscience, is that like the Republican Speaker of the House for like 20 years was like one of history's most prolific pedophiles.
He sure was.
And he also, it turns out, one of the people who mainstream the anti-Soros stuff. He starts citing a fucking Lyndon LaRouche quote unquote report claiming that Soros got his money from drugs. So Lyndon LaRouche is this like fascist weirdo who cut his teeth in running this like anti-communist cult that would like physically fight leftist groups on campuses and would like give information on like student leftist groups and like other leftist groups to the government. Like they are so fed it up that like if you start reading about the LaRoucheites, like they were narking to federal orgs like you've never heard of before. It's a stunningly bizarre like conspiracy cult thing. And Dennis Hastert was just straight up like reading their anti-Semitic conspiracy theories like on TV. But and I think this is something that one of the things I wanted to emphasize like in this episode, right, is like the anti-Soros stuff isn't really like, I don't know what you call it, like or sort of organic anti-Semitism. Like it's not something that like comes from the Republican base, right? This is a deliberate choice by Republican political strategists who are very deliberately like, this is a Jewish billionaire who's helping the Democratic Party. Like we can use this to try to do like culture war shit to win this election. And like we can see the results of this. And this isn't even, we're going to get this in a little bit, but like this isn't even the only time this is going to happen. Where like the specific like Soros like anti-Semitism stuff we're doing against him is like it's cooked up by like very specifically cooked up as a targeted thing by political strategists.
I love it.
Which it's
good.
Anyways, we should do ads.
Yeah. Speaking of anti-Semitism, just speaking about it. That's what we're doing here. Anyway, here's some ads. We're back. Got another email from the ADL. I'm going to deal with this. Y'all continue talking about George Soros.
Oh boy. So, all right, but the other thing Soros keeps doing, like, so in going after Bush, right, he has now made himself, like, he's not enemy number one yet, but he's made himself, like, a pretty high-profile enemy of the Republic, like, the
he's right up there with that guy who threw the shoe, yeah.
Yeah. Although that guy actually sucks.
We're not praising him. We're just noting that a guy threw a shoe.
Yeah. He starts this sort of like arc of pissing off a bunch of really, really powerful and important people who are anti-Semitic right-wingers. So remember how I a while back I said I was talking about there was a guy who double-crossed Soros who was like, this guy's bad at politics. So that guy was like that guy was a Georgian protest leader who Soros like helped like his protest movements overthrow a sort of like kind of a pretty shitty like pro-Russian government in Georgia. But like that guy has like a wild arc that you could do his own fucking movie series on. He's now a close ally of Viktor Orban, so it's going great. Wait, how do you actually pronounce his name? I for some reason it always just like pings off my brain.
Oh, yeah. I mean, with Garen, I hear are the real brain trust to ask about pronunciations. You've brought together, just the goats of saying words right.
Greatest pronunciators. Just send me a list of like European cities. It's a free episode idea.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I'm just going to say the word Binghamton like 47 times. It's going to be great.
Okay, so Soros backs this gets called the Rose Revolution. And, this turns out badly for Soros in every possible way, which is that, like, one, his guy, like, sucks and turns on him. And then, two, he really, like, this, like, really pisses off Vladimir Putin. A man who is going to hold this grudge, like on his deathbed, he will be holding this grudge. Now, okay, so one of the things that sort of like happens, so he's backing these sort of like protest movements in Eastern Europe, through the sort of 2000s, and as the 2000s go on and turn to 2008, the world economy goes to shit. A bunch of right-wingers start taking power, and one of Viktor Orban's like political consultants, who's this guy who he met through Netanyahu, like specifically like this is another consultant guy, very specifically cooks up the idea for how he's trying to fend off like a sort of another sort of right-wing challenge. He's trying to fend off like the rest of the sort of political establishment. And Orban's consultant, like very specifically, is like, what if we go after Soros again? And, and so he does. And this is another one of those things. Like, this is literally the anti-Semitism is fucking cooked up in a PR lab in order for these people to win elections. And I don't know, that just sort of just sort of like cynical cold-bloodedness of it. Like, of these people, like, this political consultant, by the way, like, is also Jewish, right? Like, and he just doesn't give a shit. He's like, fuck it. Like, we'll like, I'm like one of Netanyahu's guys. Netanyahu fucking hates this guy too. Like, why don't we just use him as a punching bag? And so they do. And, this is part of a big part of the reason, like, why Soros turns into the sort of enemy number one is that in 2015, they start blaming him for the influx of refugees from Syria. And this spreads like fucking wildfire. Suddenly, like, every single right-wing leader on earth is like, oh shit, I can blame all of my refugee stuff on this guy. And they start doing it. And, suddenly, like Erdogan is blaming him for like the Gezi Park protests in 2013. Like, Trump gets on this. And, you know, this stuff sort of like, it spreads really quickly. And once it's sort of out of the bottle, right? Like, you know, like people there are the people who sort of first start this, right, are doing this sort of like, you know, like incredibly cold, cynical political calculus. But once this like incredibly high level of anti-Semitism gets out to the open, it starts turning into just like Soros' Satan shit. And you know, and part of what happens here is that like this is one of the things, like the sort of campaigns against Soros is one of the things that is responsible for like our current like migrant policy, like why it's so bad, like why like half of our episodes next week are going to be about like just horrible shit happening at the border, which is that like Soros in the like the 90s and 2000s found out that like Clinton was funding his welfare reform by cutting legal immigrants off from food stamps and like SSI benefits. And he's like, wait, this is fucked.
Oh,
you know,
Slick Willie.
Yeah, like just like he cut 1.5 million people off of fucking benefits for just no reason. Like unbelievably demonic act. And Soros finds out about this and is like, wait, what the fuck? What do you mean he's doing this? So he like puts a coalition together that like funds a bunch of immigrant advocacy groups, and he's able to overturn this. But there's a sort of right wing reaction to this, right? Like is partially also part of the right wing reaction to Soros in 2004. There's this very, very effective and like unbelievably brutal sort of right wing backlash about immigration politics that is, you know, it's one of the things that drives the Obama administration, right? The Obama administration is like worse than the Bush administration on like deportation shit. It's, you know, just utter horror. And all of that stuff continues, and all of these right-wing people figure out that if you can just pin like Trump pins the migrant caravan on Soros, and they figure out like this is like the specific combination, right? It's like the anti-Semitism of like the Jewish banker bringing immigrants into your country is just like the sort of one-way shop driving your entire country into like a like fascist right-wing frenzy. And it works. And now, you know, like the cycle that we're in now is like anytime something happens, like the right blames him for it. Like the current right wing panic is that George Soros was funding some like pretty moderate like reform DA people because he's a criminal justice reform guy, and the Republicans are now all talking about how this is like a scheme by Soros to like cause crime and like destroy the entire country. And unfortunately, like this is just like this is just reality now. All of these like really bleakly cynical political leaders and their like pollsters and PR consultants were like, we can use anti-Semitism to win elections, and they did. And now we live in hell.
Yeah, but on the upside, you know, have you guys had the new Mountain Dew Zero Major Melon? It's not tasty, but it's in grocery stores. So if you're looking for a diet Mountain Dew flavor, you know, that makes it all kind of worthwhile.
Capitalism, no longer even delivering flavor.
That's what I had for you. It was that or another heroin.
Why would they need to deliver flavor when instead they can just continue to mainstream anti-Semitism to get right-wing politicians elected, so they can make
But you know what? I've been studying this can for a while now, and none of the anthropomorphized watermelons look like they could be racial caricatures. So that's a win, you know? Look, that
actually is a racism win. To be fair,
if Mountain Dew had made a melon version in 1930, it would have been pretty bad. Like, we would be sharing pictures of those cans on Twitter today and going, "Oh my god!" They would have to make a statement. They'd have to donate some money to, like, I don't know, fund probably scholarships or something. It'd be a real problem for Mountain Dew, is what I'm saying. But today, nothing problematic about the melons on their can.
Yeah, I'm sure there's nothing problematic about the soda industry.
Aspartame. The health chemical.
Well, is that all we had, Mia?
Yeah, this is what it could happen here.
Well, it's I think now we finally know why George Soros is as bad as Magneto, and why comparing George Soros to Magneto as one of the richest men in the world who owns probably the most influential communication app is probably not a good thing.
Okay, one more thing that I want to get
at.
Like for 1 second that I realized I forgot to say earlier is that like Soros is not like in the scale of billionaires, Soros is not very rich. Like he's like the 370th richest billionaire. Yeah. Like he's not even in the top 100, right? Elon Musk, he has like $6 billion. Elon Musk has like $184 billion or something. So like, the relative levels of influence that these people have.
No, I was talking about Elon Musk being one of the richest, most influential people on the planet.
Yeah. I need everyone to understand exactly how much more fucking rich it's like when fucking Henry Ford was like doing anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, and it's like you literally like you personally literally control like more wealth than like all of the people you're ranting about combined. Like shut the fuck up. Oh my god. Anti-Semitism, folks, it sucks, and also rich people do it, even though they are the actual like
the actual ghouls.
Insofar as anything even remotely like what they're hypothesizing could even potentially exist, it's fucking these people. So yeah, they're bad. Yeah.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Time for a sofa upgrade? Introducing Anabay Sofas, where designer style meets budget-friendly prices. Anabay brings you the ultimate in furniture innovation with a modular design that allows you to rearrange your space effortlessly. Perfect for both small and large spaces, Anabay is the only machine-washable sofa inside and out. Say goodbye to stains and messes with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics that make cleaning easy. Liquids simply slide right off. Designed for custom comfort, our high-resilience foam lets you choose between a sink-in feel or a supportive memory foam blend. Plus, our pet-friendly, stain-resistant fabrics ensure your sofa stays beautiful for years. Don't compromise quality for price. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your living space today. Sofas start at just $699 with no risk returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Get up to 60% off, plus free shipping and free returns. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
It could happen here. Look, I didn't think of an intro for this one. I really should have. I apologize to the readers. I was reading about Chinese SOEs instead. Yeah, this is a podcast that's, I don't know. It's about things. I'm here
what
with Garrett.
What a useful description. Unlike all those other podcasts.
Look, they're mostly not about things. And ours is actually about things. And today it's about hot dogs. And in order to talk about hot dogs, we're joined by Jamie Loftus, whose new book, Raw Dog, The Naked Truth About Hot Dogs, boldly asks the question, what if a book was good? Welcome to the show, Jamie. Hello.
Hello. So good to be here to talk about things. This is like the thingiest thing available, I think.
Yeah, so I read this book in... Okay, I don't know how you're actually supposed to divide up... Like, if you stand up to go to the bathroom in the middle of a sitting, is that still one sitting? Or does that now increase it to two sittings? So I read this book in one sitting and it was great.
Whoa, one sitting with a bathroom break?
I think there was two technically, but yeah.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
Book, yeah. I'm so glad you liked it.
Yeah, and so this is a book that's about hot dogs and also about it's a tale of human and animal misery and suffering. And so, as I was reading the book, my playlist pops up Daniel Kahn and the Painted Bird song, The Butcher's Share. And so I'm like reading about this, and the song starts going, let's take a walk around the old bazaar where every little thing has traveled far. Every pair of pants and grain of rice contains a horror story in its price.
Oh my God.
And I feel like it is incredibly thematic too.
Wow, really theming right at you.
Yeah, I was like, wow, okay. I guess reality is just sort of telling me what the plot is right now.
Yeah, I mean that in another case, I think that's really important that we're talking about this right now is that I believe your book was officially published on May 23rd.
Yeah,
which is the 23rd day in the 5th month, which is obvious of the year 2023, which is very important in the Discordian calendar. And your book's about hot dogs, which is it is the one sacred food in the religion of Discordianism. So we for these reasons, I think it's really important we talk about this because you must be a very powerful wizard to have figured this out.
Yes, I had to reserve this date years in advance. I saw it coming, and and then by the time people caught on, it was too late. I had already wizarded my way into the most potent release date. And now, I mean, we all may be fucked because I did that.
Someone's going to assassinate JFK again. It's going to be great.
And this time his head is going to explode like there's twice as much blood in it as the original. It's going to be really shocking.
As the original. I love that. It's like as the original like series or movies or yeah.
There's going to be a second grassy knoll stacked on top of the book depository. It's going to be amazing.
Has reboot culture gone too far? And it's not that good. It's a good question.
I was trying to do a reboot culture plug cycle back here thing, and I can't do it. I'm a hack and a fraud. But I wanted to talk to you a bit about one of the things you mentioned in the book is that you were trying to get into trying to be able to get tours of these meat packing plants, and they just didn't let you. So I wanted to ask a bit about that process because that seemed like it was incredibly chaotic.
Yeah, it was really frustrating and humiliating, kind of every step of the way. Where, I mean, as we were traveling, I had, the map of places that I wanted to go. And then I also had a map of meatpacking plants that we could possibly go to on the way. And so I reached out a little bit in advance and either got a ton of just no answers, and I would try to call. But generally the excuse I was given was well, we don't let people tour anymore since COVID, because there were a few places. I know that the Vienna Beef Factory in Chicago used to do tours of very specific areas of the factory, kind of the least gnarly parts, which is saying nothing. But there were places that used to let civilians tour, and now it's just, unless things have changed in the last, year or so, no one can. And on top of that, in certain states, and this is also shifting, but ag laws, I think, make it way less possible and appealing for any meatpacking plant to allow other people in, which is, I mean, the ag law rabbit hole is so sinister of just instead of any meaningful improvement in meatpacking plants. They're inventing new laws to combat technology, which is just like terrifying.
Yeah, I mean that was was that technically pre-Green Scare?
That's a good question.
I think that was mostly like a mid 90s thing.
Yeah, but they've definitely kicked up. I mean, I think awareness of them in general has kicked up in the last couple of years because in sort of in step with how horrible conditions were for workers during lockdown after the executive order. I think there was like all of a sudden a heightened interest in wanting to investigate it, and they were just blocked at every single turn. And there are some, I know that some have been overturned or in the process of being overturned, but I don't know. It seems pretty bleak to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, like, I think on top of that, right, like we found out was it like a month ago, like pretty recently also, that there were a bunch of companies, of these meatpacking companies, that were just like using child labor, and the children were getting horribly maimed.
Yep. That was didn't make the book, but I could have taken an educated guess. Truly, it is like often so comically bad. It feels wrong, but it's just like so over the top horrible. And it sounds like describing current meatpacking conditions in the U.S. sounds like you're describing meatpacking conditions 100 years ago, and they were actually slightly better 100 years ago. So it is very bleak in the unions that still exist, but they are somewhat weakened and making it possible for laws like this to sneak through, and active child labor. And I know I put this in the book because it's something I think about all the time, where, down the line, it was reported that not only was working at a meatpacking plant one of the least safe jobs in the country during lockdown, but on top of that, a year later, it was revealed that the top brass at Tyson and Smithfield were directly colluding with the government and essentially drafted the executive order that was given in April 2020 to keep the meatpacking plants open. There were, foremen and sort of middle managers at these companies that would take bets on how many of their employees would get sick. It was just like, it was cartoon evil. It was. Yeah,
I'm like constantly haunted by the taking bets thing. Like I think about that like once a week, and I'm like, I think your line was like a continued thing of how okay with you are you with bringing the guillotine back, and I was like, like this is.
And it's the worst when it's like middle managers. I'm like, what is your end game here? Like, I know what the end game is, but it's so bleak to, be making, just getting by and still betting against your like vulnerable people that work for you, who you see every day. It's just like, whatever, not surprising, but yeah, it's like, wow, there's no justice in hot dog land. There really isn't.
Yeah. I'm so curious about how curated what information is allowed to be shared. Like, I'm curious if, I don't know, if they know how bad it is even, or if they're just like conditioned not to think about it.
Yeah, from what I can tell, there are, and I write about one at length in the book because it's one of my favorite YouTube clips of all time. This like Canadian TV show that's like I think it's just called How It's Made.
But this is a very popular Canadian television show. I watched this one as a kid.
Really?
Yeah.
I love shows like that, and I love specifically when they show you how something gross is made, because they're really trying to like keep the mood light in a way that is like so funny with hot dogs, where it's like just these big machines farting out goo, and then there's like this bass line playing that's like boom, 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 boom. The next step in the hot dog's journey is going to the shit vat, and you're like, what? It's so good. But it's really, those clips are ridiculously curated, and to the point where it's like I can't even really tell you what's missing, but you can tell weird PR when you see it, and yeah, like they're sort of showing the easiest. I don't know. It reminds me. I don't know why I'm like in I'm like Theranos pilled today, but like it reminds me of the anecdote about Elizabeth Holmes where she was like taking Joe Biden around Theranos, and then there were like people in each room setting up the next room to look like it was a functioning business, as they were taking him through the rooms and successfully deceived him. That's very much what hot dog production clips feel like to me, which is wild because they're still disgusting. Like you cannot make it look good. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, going back through years of reports, it's really difficult, understandably so, to speak with people who work at meatpacking plants as well, because there's like not a lot of that they stand to gain from talking to reporters. But there was a good Washington Post report about it in the early 2000s that detailed not just labor abuses within the workforce, but how, when you're not paying your employees enough and not keeping the equipment updated and are, factory farming focused on just production, the animals are far worse off too. And there were some pretty horrifying descriptions of what would happen to animals when people didn't have the workforce or the tools to be able to, slaughter an animal in not the most horrible way possible.
Yeah, I thought I had I'd like watched stuff before on factory farming, and like I don't I'm gonna have a real fun time sleeping tonight thinking about the fucking I don't know. We should probably content warning this because this is like the animal stuff in this is genuinely horrible. Like the specific thing I was looking at was like them talking about like they're like stunning the animal to kill it, but then the animal comes back and they're like literally chopping the animal apart while it's alive. And the animal's like blinking at them. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
It's like, it's haunting. And then and on the workers' end, it's like, and don't stop or you're fired. And and you have no protection. It's just like, it's a nightmare in a lot of places. And it came around in an interesting way with at the Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest last year, because I don't know if they use Smithfield plants for all of their food, but they did, certainly some of them. And there was a protester who came on stage while Joey Chestnut was gobbling 75 glizzies or something like that. And like the protester was like wearing a Darth Vader mask, and he had this sign that said like, "Take down the Smithfield Death Star." And it was a pretty solid protest. It made it on TV. But then Joey Chestnut tackled him to the ground and then just stood up and kept eating hot dogs. It was like the protester was so in the right, but also watching Joey really just take someone just in the middle of eating. He was like 40 hot dogs deep, tackled this guy to the ground, and on like the low res feed I was watching, it looked like he killed him. And I was like, what did Joey just do on ESPN? Did he just kill a man? He didn't, but he injured someone. And he also had a broken leg at the time. Joey, not the protester. So it was just like,
and then he went back to eating hot dogs.
Very bizarre. And then he finished the contest, and he was like, well, I would have beat my own record, but unfortunately I had to pause for 5 seconds to kill someone. But anyways, the especially Smithfield, I think, is uniquely bad, but Smithfield and Tyson is just like horrendous with labor practices.
Yeah. I mean, I think that was like, I had a thing I was going to say, and then it simply evaporated from my mind. You know what? Fuck it. Ad break. We're doing an ad break here to cover up my failures.
I keep having this like false memory. I feel like it's like this like Mandela effect thing where whenever someone says Joey Chestnut, I keep thinking it's a character from I Think You Should Leave. But whenever I look it up, I'm like, no, it's not.
Like that.
Every single time.
I mean, it does sound like that. And I Think You Should Leave has such god tier hot dog jokes that Joey should be on that show, but unfortunately he lacks charisma. And so
he also seems kind of like a bad person.
He's definitely complicit in a number of things. Very hard to know what Joey's politics are, which I know is intentional, but I'm like, what's going on with him? He's from San Diego, but now he lives in Indiana. I just don't feel like it bodes well, but I can't say for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was another part of this that I was reading this, and especially like given the shit that's been happening the last few weeks, reading about Takeru Kobayashi, the former champion competitive eating guy coming to the U.S. and then like having the very common Asian American experience of like coming to the US and then slowly realizing, holy shit, this place sucks ass. Like there's just a bunch of racists here and they hate us. And my boss is going to like run a racist PR campaign against me for money. Like
mask off like every day, all the time. And here's the guy I'm going to be replacing you with, and you will be only abused until this guy can beat you, and then goodbye forever. And that's what happened. It's so, I don't know. I think it's fascinating in a very sick way, because it's like he is just hot dog Vince McMahon. Like, it's absolutely who this guy is, and clearly idolizes Vince McMahon. The guy, George Shea, like his wife wrote for the WWE and soap operas. And so he's just like very well versed in very racist, anti-woman, high drama. Like it's just like it's his favorite. And I hate him. And he's so uniquely in control of that world. It feels very Vince McMahonish, where you're like, surely someone else could do this job, but it's just not allowed.
If he's the Vince McMahon of the hot dog world, what are you now in the hot dog world?
Good question.
The study of hot dogs.
I'm one of the people who Vince McMahon covers up the murder of. I think probably that's eventually me. I'll be involved in a very small, suspicious incident in this man's life. I don't know. I mean, yeah, unfortunately, I feel like that's the best shot I have. It was interesting, though, when I released an excerpt of my book that was about Joey Chestnut, and they did not run this by me, but they just named the excerpt, "I'm in love with Joey Chestnut." I was like, okay, I guess I do say that. But I wouldn't lead with it. Anyways, the Major League Eating PR team reached out to me, and I thought I was just going to get like reamed, but it was just a light fact correct. It was very weird, a little menacing, but I guess that they're fine with me calling them evil. They're like, hey, when you said we were evil, your number was a little bit off, just so you know. And I was like, thanks.
I guess press is good press.
Yeah, that's nice. Helpful. Knowledge is power. And I changed my mind. I think they're great now due to this small fact correction.
Mm-hmm. ringing endorsement.
We're attempting to confirm live there is not, in fact, a gun behind Jamie's head right now.
Look, I can't say. I think the two things, with the book being out now, it feels nice in most ways, and then two ways where I'm like stressed out about it, where I'm like, I'm afraid that George Shea is going to come for me. And I'm also afraid the entire city of Chicago is going to come for me.
I want to talk about this because,
okay.
All right, so I'm going to have to go into witness protection after this, but I agree with you that the Chicago style hot dog's not that good. Yeah, I think celery salt on hot dog is really good, but it gets too soggy pretty quickly. It like the flavors don't necessarily go together. Like it's only okay.
It's wet and there's too much going on, and it's just like it's a catastrophe. I was promising myself I would dial back on Chicago hot dog slander, but it's like it's not very good. And I think the main thing, it wouldn't bother me as much if they I'm like, those people in Chicago who but if the Chicago hot dog loving community was just like, hey, we have this gross hot dog and we love it, that's fine. Unbridled enthusiasm for something gross, love it. But then they top that off by being like, and if you like ketchup, you should walk into traffic and get hit by a car. Like, so aggressively hate ketchup in a way that I don't know. I
don't
love
get this
something
either.
disgusting, but hating something innocuous is such a weird thing to do. It's very bizarre.
I also got like just absolute whiplash reading this because one of the places you go to is the incomprehensibly named Fatso's Last Stand, and I was literally there last week by accident because I
no way.
Yeah, so I was like an absolute fool. I was trying to travel at 7 a.m. on 2 hours of sleep because I was writing an episode, and I took a bus the wrong way, and I ended up there, and I was like, what the fuck have I just walked into? And I opened this book, and I was like, oh my god, what is happening to me?
Empty Fatso's Last Stand sounds like a very scary liminal space to exist.
It was so accursed. Like, I was like getting off the bus, and the bus driver was like, are you sure you want to get off here? And I was like, yeah, well,
that's the beginning of like a I don't know, Goosebumps episode.
It was a whole thing.
And then you find out that Fatso's Last Stand burned down 20 years ago. Did you get anything?
They weren't open.
Oh god. Pretty good. It was pretty good there. And then I've since gone back to Chicago because I didn't have time to go everywhere I wanted to. And I've since gone back, and I do genuinely like the Chicago style hot dog at Red Hot Ranch. I'm a big Red Hot Ranch head. I've converted, but a lot of it is, it's just bizarre. And the hating the ketchup thing is confusing. And then I went to Pittsburgh recently, and they're Ketchup City, USA. And so I was having some interesting conversations. And this is what my life is like now.
The other thing, okay, so there's two more very specific hot dog questions I need to ask. One is, do you have Portillo takes?
Ooh, not really. I like Portillo's, I've been in Illinois, and I've been in California too. It's a classic. It's good. It didn't make it into the book because there was like so many hot dogs that didn't make it into the book because they're like, all right, that's just you saying, like, there were so many paragraphs in a row of like, and then I had this one and I liked it. And then I had this one and I liked it. And so my editor was like, all right, we can cut, but I had to cut whole chapters. It's so wild how long this book could have been were I not reined in. But there was, this is Chicago relevant too. I took a 2-day course called Hot Dog University through Vienna Beef from this guy.
That's a thing. Can you repeat that for me? Sorry.
Oh, I'm a graduate of Hot Dog University. It's a course where it was on Zoom, unfortunately. It used to be in person. This is guy Mark, PhD, professor of hot dogs. And you take the course and he teaches you how to open your own hot dog stand over the course of 2 days. And it was actually, I learned a lot.
How many people were on the Zoom?
There were 3 people. It was me and 2 guys from Chicago. And I was trying to I didn't want to say why I was there. So I was trying to just my name's Jamie and I'm interested in opening a California hot dog stand. And Mark was really interested in that idea. And it was a couple months of me kind of dodging some emails of I'm not going to do it. I'm I never told him, but I'm not going to do it.
Okay. So, all right, I'm now conflicted because I have a great hot dog stand pivot, but also I want to ask you the second hot dog question, which is, have you had Japa dogs?
No, I haven't had Japa dogs yet. I wanted to go because I know that there's there's some in Vancouver. Is that right? I know that
it's a Canadian
Canada
thing
coded.
My friend in Vancouver keeps insisting I eat it and I refuse.
I wanted to go to Vancouver and try it because Northwestern hot dogs, there's a lot going on there in a good way. Portland, Seattle, big fan of their hot dogs. Yeah, I didn't get to Japa dog. There were a few places. There was a place in Maine I really wanted to go to, but it was so on the side of the highway and open 2 hours a day that it was
oh no,
it would be so logistically hard to be there. But working on it. Yeah, I want to go to Japa dog someday. I got hot dog poutine in Montreal recently. Ooh. Which I guess is a common poutine make. It was great.
So now that you've dedicated, I'm guessing, multiple years of your life.
2 years, yeah.
Yeah.
Not getting those back.
I guess it's studying both hot dogs and the cultural conditions that are created around them. Do you feel like a better person?
Oh,
or have you learned something extremely useful about American culture that will improve your life going forward?
Thank you for the two alternatives to the question. I would say that knowing more about hot dogs did make me a better person. I hope. And I think that, like, I don't know, it's like, it feels better to, or I don't know, like I enjoy stuff that it's like you can get to a really dark and serious place, but they seem so innocuous. It's like, whatever, getting Hansel and Gretel to come into your candy house and then being like, actually, it's fucking Murder City. Everyone's fucked in here. Like, you're going to have fun for a little while. The food is delicious, but then you're going to die. Like, I like subjects like that. And getting to, I don't know, I've met genuinely, when we had the book release show the other night, I've met so many nice people through the hot dog community. My
hot dog community.
It's true. I had this guy I met in a parking lot in Culver City. He was a Wienermobile driver at the time, and he like brought his fiance, and we talked on stage, and he was reflecting on his Wienermobile heyday. And he told me this, I'm excited because at the time he was still working for Oscar Mayer. And I was like, do people have sex in here? And he was like, I don't know, probably. But now he doesn't work for Oscar Mayer. So I was like, do people have sex in there? You have no loyalty at this point. And he was like, okay, well, I never did. But there's like 6 seats in the Wienermobile. And I guess on the back left, it's called the meat seat. And that's where you fuck.
The meat seat.
I know. It was really shocking. And he's so sweet that it was really scary to hear coming out of his mouth. So there is the meat seat. Anyways, I've met a lot of nice people through hot dogs. And I've learned stuff I did not know. So it's fun.
Well, you too can become a better person by purchasing the book Raw Talk wherever books are sold. One actual serious question. Have you ever watched the movie Food Fight?
No. Wait, when is it from?
The 2012 computer animated movie starring supermarket food mascots that and they unite to fight the generic brand food products in their grocery store, and there's a lot of really weird Nazi imagery, really uncomfortable, like over sexualization, and some of the most garish animation you've ever seen. It's a pretty wild movie. It was in development for it was almost like a decade and a half.
Charlie Sheen, Eva Longoria, Hilary Duff.
Yeah. Oh my god,
the Mad Lib.
What a different era.
Wow.
Christopher Lloyd plays one of the villains. It is one of the worst like acid trips of a movie, just because it is just really bad.
That is so crazy that I have zero recollection.
It predominantly
of this movie
features hot dogs.
Made.
So
wow,
hot dogs are certainly prominent on this poster. I'm just like shocked at them billing the Star-Kissed tuna above the Twinkie. It doesn't make sense to me.
Also, there is a dog character who's just like Indiana Jones, but a dog that is also but they're also in a romantic relationship with a human woman.
I don't want to know where the Nazi stuff comes in, but I am. This is so wild because it's like I thought that Sausage Party was the worst thing to happen to this very scary genre, and it's horrible. But this is
like the dark side of Sausage Party.
No. Oh my god. Oh, and there's a sequel, Food Fight. It's About Time. What?
I've not heard of this.
No.
Oh, maybe this is fake. No, maybe this is fake. I hope it's fake.
Yeah,
this is so ugly. Holy shit!
No, it is. It is one of the worst movies ever made. It's garish. It's upsetting. It is weirdly fascistic, and it's also like primarily based around like brand promotion. Also, a lot of these big food companies like signed these contracts in the late 90s. And of course, the film didn't come out until 2012.
Oh my God.
So there's a whole bunch of really weird like food fight merchandise that was made with all of these brand mascots. And it's all extremely questionable.
That does explain the cast.
Yeah.
Because that was like, it's a late 90s cast to have Wayne Brady playing Daredevil Dan, and Christopher Lloyd playing Mr. Clipboard. Chris Kattan is in it. Yeah, this movie's been in development for a long time.
Wow.
Holy shit.
Anyway, I was just wondering, since it is supermarket food, hot dog adjacent, and it does often draw parallels to Sausage Party, which is also obviously one of the most famous hot dog films.
One of the most famous, yes.
Films, quote unquote films.
Thank you.
Motion pictures.
Cinema.
I have, I've been wearing them at the shows. They did make Halloween costumes for Sausage Party.
Oh my God.
And they have the bun that looks so visceral. Like it has like vagina mouth, and then they gave the bun huge boobs and a huge butt. Anyways, she's voiced by Kristen Wiig. And I have the costume and I've been wearing it.
Wait, no, you have the actual costume?
Yeah, I have it. It's right over there.
Oh, no.
I'll wear it tonight.
Oh, God.
You're wearing it for your book stuff?
Yeah, I love a costume change, especially when it is also a jump scare.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's incredibly upsetting. That's about all the time we have today, folks.
Jamie, where can people find the hot dog book?
Oh, you can find it all over the place, but I would recommend getting it from bookshop.org if you're ordering online. It's a really cool website that will automatically purchase from your nearest independent bookstore and send it to you. So yeah, it's a pro-labor book, so don't buy it from somewhere shitty. Use your head. But yeah, get it. And I also narrate the audiobook if you... like many people have been telling me for the past couple of days, are like, a book, kind of a long podcast in a way. And I was like,
whoa.
Sure.
Whoa.
Feels great to hear.
All right. And where can people find you on the internet and the stuff that you also do that's not the hot dog book?
Bravely still on Twitter at Jamie Loftus Help and Instagram at Jamie Christ Superstar. And then you can listen to me on the Bechtelcast every week on this very network.
Well, I sure hope you cover Food Fight in an upcoming episode.
I do.
We just covered Sausage Party, and
really?
I think we both have PTSD.
So
no!
You have like a detox period first.
Yeah. And then come back with Food Fight, and by the end be like, Sausage Party wasn't actually that bad.
Yeah, this is the one you do when the paperback comes out.
Oh my God! Honestly,
nice.
Not the worst idea. I do want to watch this movie now, but I like looking at the poster. I'm like, I don't know if I can watch it alone, but I will watch it.
We can surely plan something.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you for coming on and talking about hot dogs and labor and all of your hard work. You can find us on Cool Zone Media on most of the Instagrams and Twitters and other places, and Happen Here Pod. Keep on dogging. Yep. Okay.
As they say.
As they say. Yes.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Support for the show comes from Public, the investing platform for those who take it seriously. On Public, you can build a multi-asset portfolio of stocks, bonds, options, crypto, and now generated assets, which allow you to turn any idea into an investable index with AI. It all starts with your prompt. From renewable energy companies with high free cash flow to semiconductor suppliers growing revenue over 20% year over year, you can literally type any prompt and put the AI to work. It screens thousands of stocks, builds a one-of-a-kind index, and lets you backtest it against the S&P 500. Then you can invest in a few clicks. Generated assets are like ETFs with infinite possibilities, completely customizable and based on your thesis, not someone else's. Go to public.com/podcast and earn an uncapped 1% bonus when you transfer your portfolio. That's public.com/podcast. Paid for by Public Investing. Brokerage services by Open to the Public Investing Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services by Public Advisors LLC, SEC registered advisor. Generated assets is an interactive analysis tool. Output is for informational purposes only and is not an investment recommendation or advice. Complete disclosures available at public.com/disclosures.
Life gets messy. Spills, stains, head accidents, and kid chaos. But with Anabei, cleaning up is easy. Our sofas are fully machine washable, inside and out, so you never have to stress about messes again. Made with liquid and stain-resistant fabrics, that means fewer stains and more peace of mind. Designed for real life, our sofas feature changeable fabric covers, allowing you to refresh your style anytime. Need flexibility? Our modular design lets you rearrange your sofa effortlessly. Perfect for cozy apartments or spacious homes. Plus, they're earth-friendly and built to last. That's why over 200,000 happy customers have made the switch. Upgrade your space today. Sofas start at just $699. Visit washablesofas.com now and bring home a sofa made for life. That's washablesofas.com. Offers are subject to change and certain restrictions may apply.
Hello, welcome to It Could Happen Here. I'm Garrison Davis. Recently, I just wrapped up a whole 5 episodes about the previous week of action to stop Cop City in Atlanta, Georgia. In a somewhat unsuccessful attempt to shorten the running time of those episodes, I had to cut out many of the funny bits, jokes, gaffes, goofs, bloopers, and related tomfoolery. But as demonstrated by the police's massive mobilization to shut down a cancelled comedy event in the woods on March 7th, the Weelaunee Forest and surrounding area of Atlanta are often home to manifestations of absurdist humor. There's been a lot of not great news recently. Well, there's kind of always a lot of not great news now that we live in an ever-expanding hyper-reality, oversaturated with information, but I digress. I think it's just as important to not overlook the comedic, lighthearted side of things as it is to keep up with all of the doom and gloom that we usually platform on our show. So, without further ado, I present to you
Jokes from the Atlanta Forest!
Side note, I am now invoking Jester's privilege. Legally, everything we say in this episode is a joke, as a little heads up. Okay. This episode will probably make more sense if you listened to the 4-part Week of Action series or the retrospective episode, but also I will do my best to pop in via this narration to help fill in any gaps so that listeners will not be completely lost if you've not listened to those other episodes. Anyway, we shall start by tuning back into my conversation with Matt from the Atlanta Community Press Collective as we discuss the March 5th police raid of the South River Music Festival. Welcome to It Could Happen Here cast. I'm Garrison Davis.
In World of Warcraft, you can shield bash, so please don't include that.
There's been this effort from police and media to frame these arrests as like, these were arrests that happened at a crime scene. Like these arrests were people who were torching equipment, who were involved in all these actions, who were doing domestic terrorism. But all the arrests that happened were at a music festival. Like they were in a completely different section of the forest. Like
at a music festival, at the parking lot, even away from the music festival. And, you know, police surveillance may be good, and they may have been able to pick out an individual or two, but for the most part, like you had something like 200 people partake in this direct action and then disappear into the woods. There's really no way and of course, most of them were wearing block of some form. There's really no way to...
Much of that block, which has now been burnt and is no longer existing in the physical material realm.
So there's no way to like really tell who was there, and other than allegedly having mud on your clothes.
You want to talk about what the warrants were and the oddity of how the warrants were formatted?
Once you started to listen to them, you noticed this very repetitive nature of them. And so about halfway through, we get to a lawyer who straight up calls out the fact that these warrants seem like they were just copy pasted.
For, like every single person.
All the way down the line.
And one of the such claims...
Mud.
So
I don't know. I don't know how many festivals you've attended in your life, but I've been to a few, and they are never clean affairs.
So it rained like one day before. The night before the festival started, there was a tornado warning in Atlanta.
I forgot about that.
And there was rain, which makes... I don't know if the prosecutors know this, but when rain mixes with dirt, it creates something called that we refer to as mud. My Doc Martens are still caked in mud. Future me cutting back in here for a sec. So, for the record, I have since cleaned my Doc Martens, but the mud was still on there for well over a month until I was forced to wash my shoes after I stepped in much, much more mud while in the Tillamook Forest as I was failing to shoot a Kel-Tec, which, yeah, that was probably my bad. These charges don't make any sense. There's no evidence these people committed any actual crimes, so they're just being charged with terrorism, this like nebulous concept. The judge said that the legal basis of these claims will have to be decided on another day. Similarly, they said that in regards to like actual evidence that these people charged did any crimes, she said that she had she said that she had none of this evidence in front of her, and that evidence is for another day. So it's
absolutely, I think bonkers is an appropriate word.
One of those kangaroo court moments.
It really, my faith in the legal system was really solidified this day. There was also the threat of arrest for the New York Times reporter that happened. Forgot to mention that. So, you know, we'll leave that commentary by itself.
They should have charged Sean Keenan with domestic terrorism. Sorry for making fun of noted trans ally, the New York Times. I promise it won't happen again. Wait, no, that's a lie. There's at least 2 more New York Times jokes in this script. Fuck. I guess let's talk about Monday. So, don't...
Is the editor?
No, Daniel.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
He's not going to hear any of this shit.
Oh.
Because the way these work is I transcribe them and then I copy and paste sections, so they only move the section over.
So when I say ask Garrison about...
Okay, so it turns out that was a lie. Daniel did need to hear that, so sorry, Daniel. Full transparency, most of those bleeps were me making horrible slurping noises into the microphone, as Daniel can probably attest. So really, all of you should be thanking Daniel for suffering through those to bleep them out. Daniel died for your sins. I mean content. Truly braver than the troops. Insert joke. Anyway, back to me from the past. So let's talk about Monday. Do you want to talk about the clergy event that happened in front of City Hall? So City Council meeting. You work for the Atlanta Community Press Collective. You've covered a lot of city council meetings in Atlanta before. This was my first time covering an Atlanta City Council meeting. Due to your, wisdom in this field, I would like for you to discuss what happened at the City Council meeting in relation to your years of experience in covering these meetings.
So City Council meets every other week on Mondays. I cover several other committees, but the big one is always the City Council meeting. And over the course of time, there's like a cast of characters that you just begin to understand are going to appear either every week or from time to time. And you had the pleasure of actually getting to see a few of these, and I was like, there were a few of us media folks there, and I was actually really happy that like people got to experience this with me because I usually have to do it by myself. So you got to meet 3 of the characters. You got to meet Brother Hakeem, you got to meet Rachel, and you got to meet your favorite Chef Doctor. So
this is just somebody who everyone refers to as Chef Doctor. He is dressed up as what you can only describe as a chef doctor, someone wearing half of a chef's outfit, half of a doctor's outfit. He had a Freemason pin on his shirt, because of course he did. And I just like watched him for a while, because like initially in the city council meeting, they were just like handing out awards to like
the proclamation ceremonies.
The proclamations and awards to like various people, including like former city council members, like whatever. And then eventually public comment started. And I guess let's talk about Chef Doctor. So So for the entirety of the city council meeting, during the proclamations, in the back of city council, there was this large red like heart just sitting in the back.
But it looked like Bob the tomato from VeggieTales.
It looked that was exactly what I thought. I like this heart, like why is there this Bob the tomato ass heart mascot just sitting in the back of city council? No one was inside the costume. It was just like the heart sitting there next to like another massive heart made up of like flowers. So I was kind of confused for why that was there. There was like a pediatric surgeon that got like one of the awards. I'm like, oh, maybe the heart's there because of heart surgery or something. I don't know.
No. That would make sense. And you have to get out of that mindset for public comment for the most part.
So then Chef Doctor gets 10 minutes of public comment.
So we should explain that mechanism. Everyone who signs up for public comment gets 2 minutes. You can award your time or give over your time to somebody else. So there were 4 other people who gave their time over to Chef Doctor to give him 10 minutes. And he used all 10 minutes.
And so what was Chef Doctor trying to get out of the city? Why was he giving public comment?
Right, so a shout out to Chef Doctor, okay? Like Chef Doctor wants to create a soul food museum in the west side of Atlanta, and she's shown up a few times to kind of ask city council for money. And as far as I know, that has gone nowhere. But that was what he is ostensibly there for today. However, beyond just the heart, the dancing. Oh.
We haven't got there yet.
However, beyond just the big red heart and like the paper mache flower heart, he brought a flautist.
A flautist. So a flautist is someone who plays the flute. If you are like an uncultured person who's listening to this, and he walked up to the microphone. And then for 5 minutes, he got a flautist to play a flute cover of Amazing Grace.
Yes, but he had backing music from a laptop that just kind of appeared out of nowhere and
so
played into the microphone.
They played this funeral song as this now heart that's been brought to life
starts dancing.
So this person wearing like heart pajama pants changed into this heart costume at some point. I didn't see them change into this. I don't know how this happened. I must have like missed it.
It's city council magic.
Next will be Chef Dr. Kenneth Wilhoit. You'll have 10 minutes due to yielded time. Chef, let's go ahead and get started.
My name is Chef Dr. Kenneth Wilhoit. I'm the president of the Soul Food Museum and the Soul Food University. We are celebrating our 20th anniversary. And we are asking for the city council and our honorable mayor to get behind us and support us with donating a museum space, building, and land with parking in the city of Atlanta for our tourists that come here to have a place to come and experience our hospitality, agriculture, service of Atlanta. I'm going to say a quick prayer because I'm spirit-led. I do things by spirit. I'm at that age, it's not about me. It's about the spirit. Now, we'll have a song that was selected by the spirit of the ancestors. Not by me, but by the spirit of the ancestors. I asked God to say, hey, God, what song should we introduce today? This is the one that was chosen.
But this guy in the heart costume walks up and he starts like kind of dancing to this float music for 5 minutes. Talk about the dancing.
I don't think it was so much dancing as swaying with a little bit of hand motion along with the swaying. But like I wasn't expecting it.
I thought someone like dosed me with hallucinogens.
I did actually. I had there were some strips of LSD. I put them in your water bottle when you weren't looking.
This explains so much about what happened on Monday.
No, it would make much more sense if that's what happened. Unfortunately, Atlanta is a cartoon town, and that's not what happened. This was real life.
So this float cover of Amazing Grace played for 5 minutes along with the dancing heart. And then we finally got to public comment for the reason for why we were there. Not only were we blessed with that stunning rendition of Amazing Grace, the flautist himself was briefly able to address the city council before President Dave Shipman rudely, very, very rudely called time.
Amazing Grace is such a song that means so much to the world. So that's it for now. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and we are back. And just as a note, I forgot to put this in the script, so I'm going to say it now. It turns out that that heart costume that was quote-unquote dancing to the music, that's actually rentable. You can rent that in Atlanta. So I have some really good ideas for the next week of action. Since we can rent more bouncy castles and also that heart costume, I think there's a lot of potential, extremely funny things that could happen. Anyway, back to my conversation with Matt from the Atlantic Community Press Collective.
There are a couple like things to note about how City Council public comment works. City Council doesn't tend to pay attention to them. Ostensibly, the only one who pays attention is City Council President Doug Shipman, because it is his job to call time and to call up the next person. But city councilors will like step in and out of the room, get something to eat. During the 17 hours of public comment for Cop City, like one of them held a press conference. Like
it is weird how they're like legally allowed to not pay attention. Like that is bizarre.
You would think that if you allegedly work for the people, like you would
have to actually listen to them.
So amongst the city council, there are two in particular that I'm glad you got to see. There's Mary Norwood, who represents Buckhead, and then there's Dustin Hillis, who is the committee chair for the Public Safety Legal Administration Committee. So he's basically in charge of police here.
Throwing Molotov cocktails at officers and damaging millions of dollars of equipment.
And he gives off that vibe.
And neither one of them will pay attention.
No, they were on their phone from almost the entire time I was there. The Buckhead woman gave off ontologically evil vibes. Like I did not know like who she was when I went to the city council, but once I saw her, I was like, oh, okay, this person is like obviously evil, right? And I asked people about it afterwards. They're like, oh yes, that is the person that represents Buckhead. I'm like, oh, okay, yes, okay, of course.
Buckhead, of course, being the like primarily white neighborhood in North Atlanta that part of it wants to secede from the city, and that's a whole
segregation.
Yes, that is a whole nother issue, but to kind of give context of what Buckhead is.
Redlining.
That's not a question, that's just a observation.
And so sitting directly next to her is Dustin Hillis, who is known for not paying attention ever.
Except they did both pay attention after public comment when police gave their testimony on what happened the night previous. And then these two people were very engaged. We will hear more from Mary Norwood, Ontologically Evil, in a bit. But first, I have to... Stop! Jesus Christ. Fucking fuck. Jesus, my cats are just running amok. All right. We will hear more from Mary Norwood, Ontologically Evil, in a bit. But first, I have to include some of Councilman Antonio Lewis's response after Police Chief Darren Schierbaum gave his little presentation at City Council, because I don't think I've ever heard January 6th, the Atlanta Way, and Six Flags all get mentioned in the same sentence before.
It looked like January 6th. I ain't never seen police run from a group of people. And so the only thing I could think about when I saw that video, I saw it on ATL Scoop. The video is all out there. I've been seeing it all over. And when I saw the police officers run, I mean, I was a little nervous. When I saw the heat map, and I saw 100 people, I saw it. I mean, like, that ain't the Atlanta way. I mean, I ain't never seen, I'm just thinking about at the same time at Six Flags, we had some young men that were fighting. Some of our teenagers fighting at Six Flags. They didn't run up on the police. They didn't run up on the police with Molotov cocktails throwing to burn up stuff. What I will say, I thank you so much for last night for working. I want to really commend the officers because y'all were under some immense pressure, and to not see a gun fired back. Because when I see the firecrackers, I'm from Cleveland Avenue. If they throw firecrackers at me, I don't know those firecrackers. I've never seen that, so I appreciate APD for doing that.
Truly a stunning admission. Just perfect. So I had to listen to Atlanta Police Chief Darren Schierbaum's testimony a few times for the 5 episodes that were released earlier this month. So I didn't really feel like fully listening through again to find any, funny bits to put in this episode. So I just kind of like skimmed through while multitasking, and weirdly enough, I noticed that the chief said some pretty shocking things that I somehow just must have missed in my previous viewings. So I will play those for you now, and I will warn you, it is pretty disturbing. Like all the subjects we put on air, their statements do not reflect our opinions or the official position held by whatever current company owns this podcast. So yeah, like I said, warning, these are shocking, but I will let the chief speak for himself.
Take aggressive action against these officers, move to the front gate, more accelerant, inflict bodily harm upon them, launch illegal and criminal attacks, attack members of law enforcement, bring harm to our officers. These attacks are going to continue.
Pretty shocking stuff coming from a police chief. Jesus. But that is only the tip of the iceberg, because to my surprise, after public comment was over and all the news cameras left, after I left and, everyone left the building, it turns out Darren Schierbaum gave a second testimony at the very end of the city council meeting that I just completely missed until now. So I will warn you, it is kind of lewd in nature. So if you want to skip past lewd police conduct, just fast forward like a minute or two. But anyway, without further ado, here's the secret, recently unearthed second testimony presented by Atlanta Police Chief Darren Schierbaum.
President Shipman, members of the council, would like to brief you on events that transpired yesterday. I'm going to let the video play here while I walk through each of the situations. What you see here is our partners at the DeKalb County Police Department, the sheriff of Fulton County, as well as the Georgia State Patrol. We're seeing changing out of the clothes that they were wearing. They're going to position themselves what it appears to be an attempt to keep pursuing the officers. As the officers see these, we had a rapid response from our partners as well as to change their clothing. Different groups were performing acts within the manner of their training and their discipline. At this time, our officers repositioning themselves inside of our partners. These officers had been stationary to ensure that they are being restrained. The officers are on city property and are positioning themselves and reposition themselves to be prepared to go back in. Our officers are showing great restraint. They remained in a position. So what you see here is a lieutenant that is discharging. We're very fortunate that was the outcome. And I want to commend every man and woman on duty yesterday as they stood in the gap to do their job. Those officers entered our partners. And what you see here, ladies and gentlemen, is as some of the The individuals that had just previously entered into those officers, they start changing back into the clothes that they were just wearing moments before. Just last night, officers of this department, as well as DeKalb County to the Georgia State Patrol and the Sheriff's Department moved in. And I want to thank the men and women again of the Atlanta Police Department, the Georgia State Patrol, the Sheriff's Department, as well as the DeKalb County Police Department for the professionalism that they demonstrated throughout the night and into the early hours of this morning. While many of us were asleep, they continued to work through the night.
I've never seen that, so I appreciate APD for doing that.
I would have loved for every one of those very hysterical people that we've been sitting listening to for 2 or 3 hours to have seen an actual video of what really did happen. And there may be great reasons that the administration chose to do it this way, but our media is gone and all the people that needed to see this are gone.
I'm glad that nobody was hurt and none of our employees were hurt yesterday.
Oh boy, woo! Well, that was certainly something. I did not want to know that much about what the APD and their partners get up to after hours. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled comedic japes. I know Shearbaum was addressed with some questions by Unicorn Riot when he was trying to exit. Which he then denied. He gave a very frustrated face and then denied answering and promptly left the building.
Well, in the company of the New York Times journalist.
Oh, with a friend of the show, Sean Keenan. So that was most of Monday. Yeah, that is everything that happened on Monday.
Monday evening, I went home to start working on an article. What did you do, Garrison?
I went to the Purim in the woods. I got to share my memory of the VeggieTales Esther story starring the Tickle Monsters. I got to bond with a few ex-evangelicals about that. So that was fine. Then there was an experimental noise show in the forest.
And then you had a tragic neck injury on Monday night?
So Tuesday.
The group that we followed left out of the church and went to Norfolk Southern, which is one of the funders of APF and friend of the environment in Ohio. When they finished reading the letter, all they asked was that the letter go to the CEO.
Yep.
And they denied that. And all they had to do was accept it and move on. But
they while people were inside, the security called NS Police. And if you're wondering, you're like, NS Police, what could that be?
That's not a city in Atlanta.
That isn't a city in Atlanta. What could that be? That is the Norfolk Southern Police, who are legally allowed to arrest people.
And we thankfully avoided going to Norfolk Southern Police Jail.
Going to Norfolk Southern Court.
Which certainly would have been a very legitimate court.
It would have been almost as legitimate as the real court that the bail hearings happened at that same day. After successfully evading Norfolk Southern Jail, Matt and I headed downtown for a march that was accompanied by a cadre of over 100 officers pinning this crowd onto the sidewalk. We got a whole police car blocking the sidewalk. A Georgia State University K-9 unit just blocking off the entire sidewalk next to a Fulton County Sheriff's vehicle. I like that the cops are just also commanding the corporate media on where they can stand. And whatever boomer journalist is with whatever mainstream news outlet was very peeved off at this cop for telling him to get on the sidewalk. The next day, a smaller crowd met up at the same spot and broke off into little subgroups to walk around downtown Atlanta and hand out Defend the Forest leaflets. So all the little subgroups kind of meet up on Andrew Young and Peachtree, right next to the Hooters and the Hard Rock Cafe.
Classic examples of Atlantan food.
There was an Atlanta SWAT vehicle parked outside of the Hooters. Outside of fucking Hard Rock Cafe, so I keep picking up this copyrighted music. But this big Atlanta police SWAT vehicle parked on the block by the Atlanta Police Foundation headquarters. All right, there's actually a pretty decent number of people gathered here for the flyering event today. They're at the Peachtree and Young International Boulevard intersection, right across from the Hooters and the Hard Rock Cafe. There's a SWAT vehicle parked right behind us. There's about, 20 to 30 officers stationed a little bit to our north. normal police response to people handing out flyers. Just 50 officers and a SWAT team. Lieutenant Neil Welch approaches the crowd and gives them a dispersal order. They cross the street, walk like a black north, past some of the cops that are guarding the Wells Fargo building. At this point, people chant at the cops to quit your jobs, quit your jobs. And one of the cops guarding the Wells Fargo says, that's actually a good idea.
You can always quit your fucking job.
That's actually sound advice. Yeah, already tried.
And he's like, I tried to, and they wouldn't let me. But like, I don't like laughing, but that one got me. That one got me.
The cop responded not in a glib tone. It was actually
serious,
actually sincere
he wanted
and
to
serious.
quit.
That's actually a good idea. Extremely funny moment.
While this is happening, there's another group who comes in to the side of Peachtree Center Mall and enters the mall to find Mayor Andre Dickens.
So Andre Dickens is the head of some kind of board or something.
Yeah, there are a couple boards in Atlanta that stipulate the mayor is the head of the board, and this is one of them, and it meets in Peachtree Center Mall, as one does.
So the mayor is having a meeting in the mall.
His office space is, sort of above the mall, and so 3 indigenous activists, along with Kamau Franklin, arrive, and they find the mayor. They enter the board meeting, and they begin to read this letter from the Muskogee Nation out loud. Mayor Dickens, in true mayor fashion, bolts away from this, running through an exit door, which is then blocked by a guard, which I think that has its own set of legal issues. Essentially just ignoring them. Over his shoulder, he calls out, I've got a copy of the letter, and hides, just completely trying to escape what is not a good look for him.
This is what we call a Ted Wheeler moment.
Mayors.
So as this happens, I think Apex SWAT is deployed.
So Apex and SWAT had been elsewhere, and they were called back to their vehicles right before this, and then the activists exit, and almost in this very comical moment, after they get out and away, squads of these special units start rushing into the building, of course, finding no one.
Charlie Chapman ass shit, truly. Okay, even a more future version of Garrison here. Apparently, I've been told by Daniel that his name is Charlie Chaplin. I don't know, he's a pedophile, so whatever. Charlie, not Daniel. Oh boy. And I do want to say I did try multiple times to take Matt to the Hard Rock Cafe or the Hooters, either one. And he refused my offer multiple times, very, very rudely. So at some point when I'm back in Atlanta, I will have to gather a troop of femboys and head over to the Hooters. Anyway, next was the Community Movement Builders Rally on the evening of Thursday, March 9th, which had fewer jokes that night, but there are a few embarrassing recording bloopers at the expense of my own ego. So I will play those for your amusement, you absolute sick fox.
A banner, take a sign, and yeah, we'll get started soon.
It is kind of raining. We'll see how many people show up and how large the police response will be in comparison. So what could happen here?
Well, it could happen here. A podcast by Robert Evans. We are at the site of the Martin Luther King Memorial.
Did you see the 2 Sandy Springs police buses?
I did see I lived in Sandy Springs for a year, and that brought back some memories. But yes, 2 Sandy Springs police buses. Sandy Springs, of course, being mostly outside of the perimeter. A good drive from here. That was good.
All right, poggers.
Absolutely poggers.
The police has been stating, well, never mind, I cut that. What am I saying? Big puddle on the street demonstrating the city's commitment to infrastructure. That was a joke because the drain was plugged. I accidentally turned off my recording by tripping on some stairs. They're so close together. They're just sandwiched in. Got a New York Times reporter standing in the middle of the street. Of course, the only person allowed to stand in the street is the one New York Times reporter. I would estimate almost about a kilometer, but I'm Canadian, so that's not very helpful to you U.S. listeners.
The real outside agitators is Sandy Springs Police. Yeah, the police were ready to mass arrest the entire time. I don't know if you mentioned this, but in between the police line in front of the APF building and the protesters was essentially like a mixture of Cop Watch and National Lawyers Guild
and ACLU.
ACLU, because of course you had to have like both legal observer factions just to make sure everybody's watching each other get arrested.
So ACLU can watch NLG get arrested, who can watch ACLU get arrested.
It's turtles all the way down and legal observers all the way down.
Ho-ho! And we are back. That's great. All right. One of the stops on the tour of the Blarney Forest that Joe Perry was doing throughout the week was the area of the land swap between the former owner of Blackhall Studios, Ryan Millsap, and DeKalb County's Entrenchment Creek Park. So on one side, there's this beautiful forested park that Ryan Millsap wants to trade for. Then on the other side is this massive mound of dirt that he currently owns, which is right next to Boulder Crest Road.
That's that huge dirt field that you see. And what happened is while that swap was being orchestrated, Blackhall was bringing thousands and thousands and thousands of dump truck loads of dirt and just filling it up. And somebody else is going to have to do the math, but I don't know, if you say like 15 acres of dirt that is 20 feet plus high, how much dirt that is. That's a lot. It's not natural. It's not something that's helping this flood-prone area. All that's going to run into here no matter how many silt fences you put up. So that's what they're calling Michelle Obama Park. That's it, exactly right. Somebody needs to talk to Michelle and say, "Nuh-uh, you need to take your name off of that one." I don't know who got away with that, but that's not it.
By the way, you're seeing the most picturesque side of that piece of land.
Yeah, you get to the top.
When you get to the top, it's worse. It's garbage.
Well, the thing, and it is literally garbage, because a lot of this stuff, this dirt, came. Ryan Millsap he's not a movie mogul. He's a land baron. He's in real estate, and he's made billions of dollars in real estate. And so that dirt comes from other properties. He's digging up a place on a boulevard to put some apartments in. He's pulling dirt out of there. That's what's coming in here. That's dirt coming from all these other construction sites you have. That is not topsoil. You can, and believe me, I'm not making that up. I've been over there and I've walked and I've seen what's in there. I've seen water heaters in there. I've seen gutters in there. I've seen pipes. I've seen all kinds of crap. It's trash. It's a big trash mountain. That's what they want to have be Michelle Obama Park, and that ain't gonna happen. So, I just wanted you to kind of lay your eyes on what the county thought was a good idea and what Blackhall thought. Of course, it's a great idea for Ryan Millsap, because the land that he acquired is worth way more, millions more. It's now worth millions more than when he made the swap. So he has made a lot of money on this swap, and that's why he's angry that he can't get his hands on it yet. Nobody knows what he's going to do with it, because the original agreement between him and the county was that he was going to build movie studios on that land. Well, he can't now, because he sold his rights to the movie studios to a company that's now called Shadowbox. They're the ones that owns his previous studios. So he can't have a rival company right across the street from them. So he hasn't said, and nobody knows exactly what he's going to do with the property if he wins this court case and gets those 40 acres. Who knows? It's a mystery. So that's where that stands right now. Hopefully we win the lawsuit. If we do, he will have to foot the bill for repaving the path and redoing the parking lot and putting a new gazebo in. That's what the judge decreed. That's why they said we don't need a restraining order. So all that is replaceable. So, except for the trees that he tore down. those are going to take another 75 years, but who's counting?
The fate of Michelle Obama Park is still up in the air as of time of recording. So yeah, I'm excited to visit that if the land swap gets passed. Almost done. We're gonna briefly tap back into my conversation with Matt from the Atlanta Community Press Collective, and then unfortunately our jokes must come to an end.
I think one thing that's been lost in all of this too is all of the lighthearted events that have continued to go on through the week, and we have this youth rally, or there's the youth rally that's happening on Saturday. We're of course recording this beforehand, and like the joy of the movement that was represented in the Bouncy Castle RIP, which was first pointed at a rifle was pointed at, and then
we haven't talked about the gun. We haven't talked about the guns in the Bouncy Castle.
So one thing I think that
we didn't mention that.
How can you forget about the guns in the Bouncy Castle? So when the police came running up onto the tarmac at RC Field where the Bouncy Castle was, of course, they had to point a rifle at the Bouncy Castle. And if that doesn't show that police are not here to have fun and have joy, I don't know what is. I don't know if anyone was in it at the time. I don't think so. I think they were literally just pointing a gun at an empty Bouncy Castle, which they destroyed. And I think we have to take a moment to mourn that.
Did they destroy it or like deflate it?
I think they destroyed it.
Wasn't it like a rental or something?
Yes. So RIP Bouncy House, you will be missed, and all of the joy that you represented. My girlfriend's texting me.
Cringe. Let me check my note. My notes.
Pip pip boop boop. In case Garrison doesn't cut this, ask about Garrison's neck.
What? What? What'd you say?
Ask about what Garrison did Friday.
Fire Burn Tower. Saturday, Gresham Park. Sunday, Monday, noon, Tuesday. All right. Okay, just gonna look through my other notes app because I keep my notes in 3 different notes apps because I'm normal.
So one thing that's been notable, especially in how the police talk about the forest, is they've begun using like these militarized terms, like the denial of operating area that we saw when Ryan Millsap was in court in DeKalb County. He said the GBI told him to clear the area to deny operating space, and the use of terrorism. Like there's some eerie parallels between the language that was used to describe insurgencies in countries that America is invading or the United States is invading. And a lot of that language, like the military equipment that was used there, has come home and is now being used against Americans engaged in like these liberation struggles.
I wonder where we've talked about that before.
I don't know. It could happen where?
Speaking of, it is still happening. Last week, approximately 500 people came out to City Hall as the City Council is now in the process of voting to approve public funds for the Cop City project. Nearly 300 people signed up for public comment, with hundreds more waiting in line. Public comment lasted 7 hours, and during so, not a single person voiced support of using taxpayer money to fund the police training facility. The Atlanta Community Press Collective have recently reported that the proposed city funds toward the Cop City project have ballooned to a minimum of $51 million, with the $30 million package awaiting final vote in City Council, plus another at least $20 million chunk to be given to the Atlanta Police Foundation via a quote-unquote loan, which indicates that the Atlanta Police Foundation's private fundraising has not gone as well as they initially had hoped. For more on that, I'd recommend checking out the Press Collective's recent article from May 24th, and you can also donate to them to support their continued reporting of the happenings in Atlanta.
You can find us on Twitter at Atlanta_press. Our website is atlpresscollective.com, and you can find our Instagram at ATL Press Collective. We have partnered with Open Collective. We are fiscally sponsored now by the Open Collective Foundation in a way to transparently fundraise in order to sustain our reporting. Everything up until actually the week of action, everything that we have done up until the week of action was all unpaid. And it is our desire to continue to grow with the movement. And so we're excited to find a partner in the Open Collective Foundation that can continue that sort of horizontal open organizing that we have done internally.
Okay, I think we're good. I think we have it.
Good job, team.
Oh shit, I wasn't recording. I'm kidding. Fuck you.
Hey, we'll be back Monday with more episodes every week from now until the heat death of the universe.
It Could Happen Here is a production of Cool Zone Media. For more podcasts from Cool Zone Media, visit our website, coolzonemedia.com, or check us out on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find sources for It Could Happen Here updated monthly at coolzonemedia.com/sources. Thanks for listening.
Sink into affordable luxury. Anabay is the only machine washable sofa, inside and out. With stain-resistant slip covers and a cloud-like frame duvet, everything goes right in the wash. Plus, the modular design lets you change the look of your space anytime. Visit WashableSofas.com to upgrade your home. Shop up to 60% off site-wide, with sofas starting at just $699 and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Shop now at WashableSofas.com. Offers are subject to change, and certain restrictions may apply.
Hey, this is U.S. Olympic gold medalist Tara Davis Woodhull.
And I'm U.S. Paralympic gold medalist Hunter Woodhull.
As athletes, our lives are about having a clear path.
And a team that you can absolutely trust.
So when it came to getting the best mortgage,
we chose PennyMac.
PennyMac is proud to be the official mortgage provider of Team USA and you.
Learn more at pennymac.com. PennyMac Loan Services, LLC, Equal Housing Lender, NMLS ID 35953. Licensed by the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation under the California Residential Mortgage Lending Act. Conditions and restrictions may apply.
Pro drivers live for race day, but for small business owners, every day is race day. That's why going pro with Lenovo Pro matters. One-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors keep your business on the right track. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed Human.